Welcome to a very hot and sunny Spa-Francorchamps, everybody, for round 4 of the British GT Championship, and a very busy circuit because we're joined by the FFSA, the French GT Championship, and also the Alpine Elf Cup, which gives us a very crowded house indeed, and lots of different races within one to look at as track temperature nudges 28 degrees. It is very rare you come to Spa and say, I'm too hot, too wet maybe, too cold possibly, never too hot, but it's almost debilitating this weekend, and it looks like it's going to be set for the next week or so, with the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa finishing not too far away from this time next week. Only a couple of hours of the race would be left to go. Cars making their way out on the track. Down on the grid will be Bryn Lucas, David Addison and Joe Osborne are trackside. And it's going to keep us busy, this, Joe. It's a 2-hour race, mandatory pit stops and driver changes, of course, but with all the different cars on track, this 7-kilometre long circuit's going to be a real challenge.
Exactly. 19 corners spread over that 7 kilometres and a real mixture of everything. And when we get out on track, you'll see why this is the drivers' favourite corners. There's so many good corners to choose from. Eau Rouge Rally on the obvious ones, but Double Gash or Prouan to the older ones. Blanchimont is mega as well. So there's so many good corners, but also so many good overtaking opportunities, and that's going to be needed because we've got 55 cars on this grid, 25 of which, or 24 now, after the Porsche withdrawal, are British GT.
And some of those 55 are slower, considerably slower than the British GT3 cars, which will be the fastest. There you've got the Brandon Templeton, Jack Collins GT4 BMW, the French Championship GT4 spec, but then you've got the Alpines and also a Ginetta class for sort of GT4 minus. So they're going to be slower, they're going to be lapped, of course, but also if you are in a GT3 car, you need to be really sure of which way that slower car is going.
Exactly. So the GT4s, British or French, will be 20 seconds a lap slower than the GT3 cars, but then the Alpine Cup and the Ginetta Cup are another 5 seconds slower than that. So the speed delta is huge. You catch one of those cars in a high aero corner, the speed delta could be anything from 60 to 70 kilometers an hour. So suddenly you have to check up, lose momentum, and I expect that to be the flavour of this race.
Right, there's also a lot of admin to try to get through, so without making this overly complicated, we've got, as far as British GT is concerned, which Joe and I will dwell on, you've got GT3 and GT4. There is a pit stop. You only have to make one out of the regulations. Now, if you are in a GT3 car, pit in to pit exit line is 165 seconds. GT4 is 195 seconds. GT3 driver 1 has to do a minimum of 62 minutes, but no more than 70. So if you like, for this car, the Rob Collard Hugo Cook Lamborghini, their window is 62 minutes to 70. If you're in GT4, minimum is 58 minutes, so their window is 58 to 70 minutes of the race. Now, also, if you were in the top 3 last time out at Alton Park, you carry what's called compensation time on that pit stop. Because this is a 2-hour race, it is a longer amount of time that you are in the pits for. So the winners at Alton Park, Morgan Tilbrook, Ben Barnicoat, they've got 20 seconds extra to serve on the pit stop. Championship leaders Andrew Howard and Ross Gunn have got 15, and Kevin Say and Ben Green, third at Alton Park, they've got 10. Now, they were quickest yesterday, but in the end, they lost their lap times because of a ride height failure, so they've gone to the back of the GT3 grid. In GT4, the Hadley, Simpson, Tom Holland, Ginetta has 10 seconds. Darren Turner and Dan Lavery, who won at Alton Park, have got 20, and 15 seconds to Jessica Hawkins and Will Orton. But also in GT4, if you're a silver graded lineup, you get an extra 25. So the Holland, Simpson, Ginetta has 25 on top of its 10, and Jessica Hawkins and Will Orton have 25 on top of their 15. And you think, well, that's not fair. Well, it kind of is, really, especially if there is a safety car in the second stint, because that just bunches everybody back up. And also the aim of that extra silver partnership compensation time is to try to balance those cars against the Pro-Ams.
Yeah, and if we thought that part was boring, maybe we talk about track limits as well here. They're going to be reset on the hour, so not on the driver change, on the hour. The 6th one each hour will be a 5-second added on, either to your pit stop or race time. Pit lane too long here to do a drive-through. It would be 71.5 seconds, so that's deemed to be unfair. So track limits, I think, could be an issue here also.
You just saw the Alton Park winning GT4 Aston of Darren Turner and Dan Lavery going to the grid. There you've got the Ginettas that ran out of the FFSA Championship and we're looking back, coming to the grid. Morgan Tilbrook, Ben Barnicoat's car. Morgan goes first. Ben Barnicoat will take over, and with a 20-second compensation time to serve in the pit lane. It's going to be a tough race for them, there's no question about it. Let's hear from Ben Barnicoat, the Chesterfield driver. He's with Bryn Lucas on the grid.
Yeah, fresh off a fantastic result for you at Le Mans, Ben, and you're starting in a pretty favourable position, looking straight towards Radion.
Yeah, obviously there was a bit of controversy and drama overnight. It went to sleep starting fourth and woke up second, so it's nice to already have a couple of positions. And yeah, it's going to be a long 2 hours. It's going to be a lot going on here, you know, with all the cars on the grid and stuff. But I see that as a good opportunity to make something happen with the 20-second penalty.
We know that closing speeds are going to be tricky with you in the Alpines, in particular GT3s up to the Alpines. What's the process? How are you going to negotiate the traffic? Yeah,
honestly, it's you know, you got to take it on a case-by-case basis. We're not quite fully aware of all the driver levels. You know, when you're racing a championship, like, you understand which are the good GT4s in British GT and which ones you need to give a bit more space. Whereas here, it's so new, and you know, long track like this, we're probably not seeing the same car twice in practice. But so you know, it's just kind of. It's that fine balance of getting through them as quick as you can, judging the approach speed. You know, places like this with Eau Rouge, you're just going to have to back it up, make sure you get a good run out the top. But you know, so trying to attack them as quick as you can, but you've also got to stay safe. This is an endurance race, a long way to go. A lot of stuff can happen, so we've got to play it safe and make sure you've got to be in it to win it.
Good luck, Ben.
Thank you very much.
So Ben Barnicoat switching back to GT3 machinery from LMP2 cars, which he was driving at Le Mans last week, as Bryn said, with great success. And behind his car, Morgan Tilbrook, bringing it to the grid, is the Jack Brown, Mark Warren yellow fronted McLaren. So yes, lots of lap times were being looked at and some deleted yesterday post-session. Also technical checks did for the Ben Green, Kevin Say Mercedes AMG. The grid is based not on the best lap time of the car, but the best lap time of each driver added together. So it's very much a team effort in qualifying as it is in the race.
Sounded rough there, the 63. The Lamborghini has a hand clutch, but it sounded like the anti-stall was kicking in. And it's busy down there. That's why the cars are having to go slow. Some of the teams, I'm sure, are telling the drivers just to turn the engine off and just coast down the hill to the bottom of Radion.
Rob Collard is behind the wheel of this car. Rob did not get a lap in yesterday because all the ones that he set were deleted for going too wide and ignoring track limits. So it meant that Hugo Cook had to do the lap time, but it has only really been able to compare his against the others that had problems yesterday, such as the number 15 Mercedes. Ian Loggy put that into the barriers, and the damage meant that it was out for qualifying. So it became a battle for the grid as to whether Hugo Cook's one session was better than Ian Loggy's one session, and the answer was it was. The good news is that car has been made good for today. This is Ian Loggy's accident yesterday. Just ran wide, coming out of Pont du Gauche and then running wide up against the barriers. And it didn't look, as we said at the time, that hard a hit, but when the car was moved away, gosh, you could certainly see the damage.
Yeah, that's what you said. There was a huge amount of damage to that front corner, wasn't there? And probably was an hour or two, as Kevin says, stalking someone on the grid who kindly moves more in their way as they come into their grid box. But yeah, tough break for these guys. Should have been on the front end of the grid. Yeah. They're now stone last of the GT3s. Luckily for them, the way the regulations are, they've only gone to the back of the GT3s, not to the back of British GT, and not to the back of the combined 55-car grid.
And another car that has been put to the back is the Martin Plowman Mark Smith McLaren. That's a legacy of a penalty incurred at Alton Park. You can see how rather more standard the Alpines look compared to the GT3 cars at the front, but they're fighting for their own race within a race. In GT4, Tom Holland will start the Innovation Racing Ginetta that had a win at Silverstone in the other long race that we had in the calendar, the 3 hours of Silverstone. Hadley Simpson with Bryn Lucas on the grid.
A very relaxed looking Hadley Simpson in many ways. Hadley, it's a good position for you guys to start in. When you look at your pit stop compensation time and those behind you, it's an opportunity even from here to build on that advantage in the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's how we've got to look at it. I mean, the two McLarens in front look quick, don't get me wrong, but you know, you don't have to win every race to win a championship. We're looking at the bigger picture here, and it looks nice. So yeah, a lot of compensation time, but we're just going to try stretch our legs early doors and go from there.
Go and get your race suit on and get sweaty. Good luck.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Hadley Simpson's car is going to start third on the grid of the GT4 section. As Joe Osborne's just made the point, we have the GT3 cars and then we have the GT4 because for safety grounds, you just sort of segregate them. And then the French Championship will run behind that. And their regulations are slightly different. It's the longest French GT race we've had since it went to the GT4 regulations. And because those cars don't have long-range fuel tanks, they'll have an 8-minute pit stop. The cars will go into the garages for refueling. And so it's not going to be, if you like, a fair fight between the British and the French GT4 cars. One of the British ones is this acrobatic Aston Martin that Jess Hawkins had a huge lose with yesterday in qualifying. Did quite a bit of damage to the floor. It meant Will Orton couldn't go out and do the second part of qualifying. So all being well, that car now has been repaired and will be good to go. The start driver for that car is going to be Jess Hawkins. Will Orton, coming to GT racing out of Porsches, will take over, and the team has got the car sorted. It is down on the grid, as you can see. There's the championship leading Aston, which quirkily this weekend loses its Aston Martin branding of 007 because the 0 prefix has been given to all the French cars. So rather than have 2 with the same number, all the French championship cars get a 0, or if it's a single digit, a 00. So 007 has become a car from the French Championship, the Mirage Racing Audi. And so now Andrew Howard, the ice cream magnate through Beechdean Dairy Ice Cream, his company, he's number 7. So you can see the grid stretching all the way up the hill from Eau Rouge towards La Source. Now let's try and get back not only to the grid but also to the French GT section, because on the outside of the front row there is Joran Leneutre, and he's had a pretty tough start to the season. He's with Bryn though.
Le début de saison est difficile, mais vous avez une très bonne qualification hier, deuxième.
Oui, une très bonne qualification ici. On est très content avec Cindy. On a fait le job. Un track limite qui nous a empêché de prendre la pole position de peu, mais bon, c'est déjà une deuxième place, une première ligne. Maintenant, la course, ça va être longue. 2 heures, c'est pas une course d'1 heure, donc voilà, va falloir gérer les pneus, la température dans la voiture, et puis gérer aussi le trafic sur la piste. Ça va être très important.
Merci Jean. Bonne chance.
Merci.
So Joran Leneutre just reflecting on the fact that it has been a tough start to the season, but he's looking forward to a long race, and one of the things that he's slightly concerned about, cockpit temperatures, so they're constantly going to be checking those, he says, in the car during the course of the race, and hoping that this is a race in which they can kickstart the championship season for some points. So Joran Leneutre and Cindy Goudet, his co-driver, the former French hill climb champion, starting on the outside of the front row, but they're something like P nowhere, 14th I think it is in the championship. So a good result here would certainly do them a power of good. Looking down onto the grid, I thought there was a gap on the second row of the FFSA grid there, as though the car of Joshua Henry was missing. That's the British GT3 grid at the front, but it did look as though there was a gap on the inside of the second row.
Because interesting, that's where the on the second row was the 088 as well, wasn't it, with its penalties now to the second to last row. So the second row in FFSA is potentially being heavily changed from what happened in qualifying.
Absolutely right. So one assumes that the marshals have the most up-to-date grid and have put people in the right places, but that's your front row, the French flag, the French tricolor over the grid as well at this Belgian circuit. But our main focus will be, of course, on the GT3 battle up front. You're looking there at the new pole car, which is Simon Orange, the man behind the Sale Shots rugby team as well. He starts. Behind him, number 78, Alex Martin. In number 78, Barwell Lamborghini. On the outside of the front row, Morgan Tilbrook. There, aboard 004, is Rudy Serval. This is the car that is on pole position within the French GT section of the race, and very much one to watch. This is a pucker GT4 spec Alpine, rather than one of the less powerful Alpine Cup cars.
You can see the very busy grid trying to clear as quickly as they can. It's always hard here on the endurance pit lane. There's not many breaks in that wall, so you have to jump over. And yeah, it's so popular here for the SRO Speedweek. Great to see so many fans here in a glorious weather.
I think the second row has now sorted itself out. Joshua Henry's car, or Joshua Henry's car, is now there. So that looks as though we're good. You can see then the McLarens at the very front. And McLarens have always had good pace around this circuit. Sometimes people wrinkle their nose about the reliability of them, but in terms of the speed that McLarens have, it's never really in doubt here.
No, I think Martin Kirchhofer last year, British GT pole, then the week after Spa 24-hour pole in the Super Pole was phenomenal. We've now got Ben Barnicoat aboard that 77, so I think he's going to light up the timing screens when he gets in. But I actually think Mark Warren is the car to keep an eye out for in the yellow Optimum car. Why do I say that? He was second fastest in his qualifying session, but on the aggregate he drops all the way back to the third row. So we look at this number 90 car now. I think this is the one to watch out for in this opening stint.
Jack Brown, his co-driver, they've been GT4 race winners together. Jack Brown has been a GT4 champion, and the other one to watch is going to be Kevin Say, with work to do from the back of that GT3 grid. But then there's that longer pit stop to have to take as well. Toyotas are popular within the French championship. There you can see 078, which is the car that Cindy Goudet will start, shared with Joran Leneutre, who we heard from a little earlier. Cindy Goudet we've also seen not only in French GT, but in the GT4 European Series. The SRO flags, the British flag, all at the front of the grid. They're going to be removed shortly as the countdown continues. Engines will fire at the 1 minute board, which is imminent, and we are ready for the cars to be released then. Very much part of a huge festival of GT racing, this, because from Wednesday onwards here, it's going to be a busy circuit again next week with the parade into town and the fan activities. Thursday onwards, the track is never still for the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. Not only GT3 cars, but Lamborghinis, McLarens, and the GT4 European Series and GT3 cars of yesteryear in the Motor Racing Legends series as well. Andrew Howard has been a mainstay of GT3 grids, and it's been a long time since the last race win that he had, about a decade, but let's see what he can do here. He and Ross Gunn are going to be a force to be reckoned with, but 15 seconds compensation time to serve in the pits. They need a safety car in stint 2.
Yeah, they really do, to give them a chance bunching everyone up. Might be worth talking about safety car. If we do get a safety car, we're not going to get a wave around today. We're going to get the crossover. So the GT3s will go to the front of the field and the GT4s will filter to the back. So the lack of wave around could hurt GT4s if they're a lap down, but it will mean we get a clean restart. And the restart will actually be done after turn 1. So we're going to get the start here on the endurance, like you see at Spa 24 Hours, and then the control line will be the safety car restart. But turn 1 will stay yellow, and they won't be able to overtake until the exit, where there'll be a marshal waving a green flag.
And the reason for they decide to put GT3 ahead, it's called class split, is for that reason of having turn 1 on a restart under a yellow flag, and then the GT3 cars aren't compromised behind a slower GT4 that they can't overtake. So you put all the GT3 cars again in it. Just by segregating them, it all helps for safety reasons. Well, we're ready to go. It's going to be a fascinating race, this. Spa's a great circuit anyway. A 2-hour race always gives, if you like, extra jeopardy, and these temperatures are going to be interesting to monitor as well. Yesterday, of course, they were out on track, but only for short bursts, whereas now we're looking at roughly an hour per driver. Exactly that, and the temperatures are going to be hot here. I think the hotter cars, the McLaren GT3s, are one of that on the top end of the scale. I think you're going to be looking at 55, 60 degrees cockpit temperature. Some of the cooler ones, the Aston Martin air conditioning system is so good the drivers say they can't run it on full, and that will definitely help driver fatigue, especially for the bronze graded drivers. And you can see the very busy French grid stretching back behind the second safety car. So we'll have these two BYDs lead the field around. The British Championship having its own grids, plural, GT3 and GT4. And then the FFSA French GT4 Championship running off the back. And we'll try not to ignore the French race because that's going to be dramatic as well. But it looked like Mike Price's green McLaren was a bit reluctant to get away there as the cars now are released onto the formation lap. One last opportunity here at Spa-Francorchamps to get some warmth into the Pirelli rubber, ready to go racing. So they make that climb. Oh, Mike Price's car is very reluctant to get away. And pit lane technical marshal as you see the car stranded, Rachel Batten-Dale rushes to the car to try and find out whether that's going to be able to start or whether it needs to be pushed off the grid. And cars already, we're fearful of being a bit too hot. The different pole positions in the classes: GT4 Pro-Am Luke Shaw, GT4 Silver Josh Stanton, Alex Martin in Silver Am, Simon Orange Pro-Am, and indeed the outright GT3 pole position. So those are the 4 British GT class pole position winners. This is the grid. Pole to Simon Orange. Morgan Tilbrook will be with him at the front of the grid. And for third, Alex Martin's Lamborghini with Andrew Howard lining up alongside. Starting 5th is going to be Mark Warren, and 6th is the Australian driver Cameron Campbell in the Rodin Ferrari. That could be an interesting car here without compensation time in the pits. Starting 7th, it is going to be Jonathan Beeson's BMW that scored maximum points at Silverstone. And then possibly missing now, Mike Price with the green McLaren. It would have been 8th ahead of Stephen Lake in the orange, racing by JMH McLaren. And then Rob Collard, very much a man to watch on the first few laps, coming up from 10th on the grid. 11th is where you will find Mark Smith. 12th is Ian Loggy with his repaired Mercedes. And at the back of the GT3 section is Kevin Say, the Macau driver. Then you get to GT4, which is going to be headed by Josh Stanton, and Revy Lake, the youngest driver on the grid, is going to be alongside. On the next row, Tom Holland's Ginetta, Luke Shaw lining up alongside in a similar car ahead of Ian Duggan's Porsche Cayman, and James Townsend's Aston Martin is going to be next. That's the car that he shares with Joe Wheeler. The rest of the British GT4 grid is going to be starting 21st, Ernie Graham in the WSR run BMW, and alongside him is John Hartzell, the oldest driver on the grid. Jessica Hawkins and Alton Park winner Dan Lavery are on the next row, and it's going to be the Jack Collins and Brandon Templeton BMW that is going to round out the British GT4 grid. And that is a very, very depressing sight. It's the first time that Mike Price and Callum McLeod have been set to race in British GT this year, but the car being towed off the grid and not looking as though it's going to go any further. Rudy Serval and Cindy Goudet share the front row of the French GT grid ahead of Joshua Henry and Alex Papadopoulos. Laurent Hergon is on row 3 with Hugo Popper ahead of Fabien Duffier and David Levy. Then Pascal Houteau and Julien André from Stéphane Auriacom and Kevin Jimenez. You've got Yves Lemaitre next with Axel van Straten lining up alongside. Then Stefan Rambo and Onder Erdem. David Berrer is alongside Rudolf Waldron. Johan Ackermann is alongside Julien Neveu with Frédéric de Brabant, Gassar Radesht, Julien Paguet, Simon Asselin, Philippe Marie, Stéphane Guérin, Thierry Soave, Jeremy Corsan, one to watch, Reece Lloyd and Nicolas Siebenschou completing the grid. When I say Jeremy Corsan is one to watch, the championship leaders in French GT put to the penultimate row for lap times deleted for track limits yesterday. There's going to be an extra formation lap as the cars come down into the chicane. An extra formation lap is being given with that McLaren having had its problem. It's off the track, but an extra formation lap has been called by the race director, Peter Daly.
Yeah, not surprising. Need to get that car safe. Hard one to see what's wrong with Mike Price's car, and it's out the way now. The Optimum team will be there. The first thing will be to plug in a battery pack, so an external battery. Cars were on the grid for a long time. We had quite a few teams complaining of overheating on that one, so could be that, but didn't seem to be much life in it for Mike Price. The harder bit here is going to be Rob Collard, who was due to start behind him, will have to leave a McLaren GT3 length in front, 4.6 meters or so, 183 inches. If that gap's not big enough, he could get a penalty for that. He's got to leave an imaginary space for that McLaren that is no longer there.
So the green flag has now been shown, so the race is notionally underway. The clock has started, at least, as the cars then come up through Blanchimont. Looking at some of the French GT cars there, number 20 Porsche is the VS Competition car of Remy van Straten, and with him is Axel van Straten, who will do the first stint. 120 minutes of counting down here.
If you needed a visualization of how hot is it in these cars, you could see the Alpine with the driver door open coming around Blanchimont. I thought it was a latch issue, but the driver was actually closing it and yeah, showing how hot it is already. And we haven't done a single lap.
Indeed, so the clock is ticking, the race notionally underway because this is counting within the 2 hours, but the extra formation lap just put in to make sure that car is out of the way. So next time around they will start to get themselves into the side-by-side formation ready for the rolling start for the race. So the French grid coming up towards us, headed by Rudy Serval, who will be in the Alpine, the blue and yellow car. Weaving vigorously behind is Cindy Goudet in the Toyota Supra. Then you get to another of the Supras, Joshua Henry's car, and Alex Papadopoulos. He and Luc Ibanez, not regulars, as Mike Price now does join the race.
So where does he rejoin? Can he go to the back of the GT3 field?
Let's see where
he's... a bit of an oddity that the light was actually turned to green for me. This is something I've not encountered, so just trying to work out what race control are going to want from Mike Price.
Yeah, the race is notionally underway. He's going to put himself, I would think, to the back of GT4, isn't he? Because you can't overtake anybody.
And he will be a lap down.
No, because they've not yet done a lap. So they're on lap 1.
Yeah, true.
He has joined on lap 1. So he's still on the lead lap as far as I read it.
Got a bit more fuel than everyone.
Yeah. He's also possibly kept himself out of trouble by being behind any dramas when we do go racing. But no, for my money, he will have to start at the very back of GT4. I'm sure that would have been communicated by Peter Daly to the team to say, this is what I want you to do. But he's got out before the French GT Championship cars have got to Eau Rouge. So in that respect, he's kind of where he needed to be. He's ahead of the French cars, but he might have to drop in at the back of GT4.
Yeah, so the price is right.
So the cars now making their way up through Radion. The cars then will start to get themselves into formation later this lap, ready to go racing. And Mike Price then, having left the pit lane, joining the back of the queue as you look at the French Championship grid here, making its way up the Camel Straight. Our first grid, though, is ready to go because now they're coming towards Blanchimont. And hopefully that drama for the green McLaren of Mike Price now is the last we're going to hear of it. From here on in, fingers crossed, it behaves itself. So the cars now are getting themselves into formation, and this time around the cars can be released. Some of the teams even asking that the safety car goes faster, but they need to be bunched at this point anyway to get them into that 2x2 rolling start formation. What they don't want to be doing, I guess, is going so slowly that the engines start to get even hotter.
Yeah, that's the problem as well. Tyre temp's going to actually be falling away. These tyres would have been hot out the oven, ambient hot today, so it's not going to be a disaster. But this is going to be half a lap to a lap, getting them back up to ambient as the safety car now hands over control to Simon Orange. And
it does not look as though the green McLaren has passed anybody, so that's going to put them at the very back of the British part of the race. As they come up then now through the chicane, they'll put themselves into formation. As into the pit lane comes Morgan Tilbrook from the outside of the front row. We'll come to that in a moment then as the cars go towards La Source, ready for the start of the race. But drama for Morgan Tilbrook, the team ready for the car, and it looks like he's picked up an issue on that formation lap. The car is in. The team, you can see in the pit lane, have got a spare tyre, and it looks like he's picked up some sort of slow puncture that the team can identify on that formation lap. So straight away they go to work, although then the tyre looked as though it was going to be put away. We'll come to that in a second because we're going to get the first of our grids underway then for the fourth round of the British GT Championship here at Spa. The cars make their way to the ceremonial start line, the other side of La Source where the endurance pits is, and a demon getaway there, look, from Alex Martin, who absolutely dives out from the second row and snatches the race lead on the way down the hill. That was either a really good start or a little bit premature, but either way it's put the Barwell Lamborghini into the lead of the race. So Alex Martin leads. This is Rob Collard's view. Ahead of him is Cameron Campbell as they climb uphill for the first time in GT4. Revy Lake looking as though he has made the best start there, and Kevin Say in the blue and white Mercedes trying to make progress as Martin leads. Orange is second, Mark Warren is third, Andrew Howdy's fourth, and Rob Collard is fifth already. We know he can overtake where nobody else can. We saw that for many a season in touring cars, and Rob Collard here is on a mission.
He really is, isn't he? He looked like Mark Smith down the inside of Beechdean. He doesn't get the move done. He's lost time, actually. But it was a great start from Martin. It looked okay. He benefited massively from Tilbrook not being there, and he snatched that front row grid. And actually, Andrew Howard in the Beechdean Aston, our championship leader, at least we forget, was really compromised there. But at the moment, it does seem like Simon Orange has got good pace as well in the 67 McLaren.
And we're hearing from Bren in the pit lane that it was a loss of tyre pressure for 73 77, Morgan Tilbrook, but he's still in the pit lane. And the danger here is that 77 could drop a lap if it's not careful. Mike Price goes through. This is the French start as they accelerate away. So the cars here up towards La Source. Remember, the front row here is Rudy Servol in the yellow and blue Alpine. On the outside line, Cindy Goudet, Joshua Henry in that red Supra, Alex Papadopoulos in the Mercedes. The safety car peels in, and they are now making their way up towards the lights, which will be reset for the French GT Championship race. Round 5 to get underway. 2 at Dijon, 2 at Nogaro. And now Spa they go racing, and there's a Supra being squeezed towards the grass a little bit further back there. That was Hugo Popper in the yellow Toyota who just about got away with that. They thunder uphill for the first time. Papadopoulos has a bit of a snatch and oversteer there, which he's able to hang on to. Joshua Henry right up alongside him in the Supra. And it's a real drag race up the hill, which is being led by Rudy Servol ahead of Cindy Goudet and everybody else trying to be third at the moment. But Papadopoulos in the Mercedes, look on the outside line, breaks as late as he dares, coming up to Le Combe and has gone through.
Great move, got the run, and actually the Supra's going to lose a place to the Alpine as well by the looks of it, trying to fight back. Never really a great overtake. The other thing I saw in the mid-pack was Ian Logie was right in the middle of the GT4s as well, and then we flicked back just 20 seconds further back, and British GT are finishing their first flying lap under full racing speed.
And we do have Morgan Tilbrook into the race, but really badly delayed. So on top of that, they've got the 20 seconds to serve anyway on the regulation pit stop. That going through is Kevin Say, who is trying to make progress, and he's already up into 9th. As Alex Martin leads the race after that mega start. 2nd is Simon Orange then. 3rd is Mark Warren. Rob Collard's up to 4th. Andrew Howard is 5th. The blue BMW, Jonathan Beeson 6th. 7th is about to be Mark Smith on the inside line of Cameron Campbell's Rodin Ferrari. And the black and pink McLaren, Mark Smith, the American driver, goes through. You've got Kevin Say next up. Look, 18 in the Mercedes at the inside, and there's contact between the two. That was brave, and it was bold. And it might have been a bit too bold on the part of Kevin Say. He's got the inside line for the next corner, and diving up the inside as well, Stephen Lake. And poor old Cameron Campbell has just been absolutely mugged.
Car number 13, unlucky for some. 3 places lost in 3 corners. I said in French GT as we're firing through the exit of Le Combe there, it's not an overtaking spot. That's the problem, and Kevin Say really highlighted that. I think it will go down as a racing incident because he was so far alongside the 13 Ferrari, but that was lucky there wasn't more contact. I do worry about Ian Logie in the other 2Cs Mercedes. He was nowhere to be seen in that shot and has got 0 paces in the middle of the GT4 field along with Mike Price.
Yeah, Mike Price making progress, and Morgan Tilbrook is trying to make progress up from the back of the grid. He could do with the safety car early and late in this to give him a chance of catching up, and then Ben Barnicoat a chance the other side of the pit stops. However, in the French Championship, across the line comes Rudy Servol, fending off Cindy Goudet, Alex Papadopoulos 3rd, and there's about to be a change for 4th place, I think they're going into the La Source hairpin, because Laurent Hergon has made good progress at the expense of Joshua Henry in the Toyota Supra. The rest of the field comes pouring through, and it won't be long, look, before the lap restarts, because here is Alex Martin, who is virtually up with them, and this is going to be the tone now for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, the problem is the French GT started so far back. The lapping is starting much, much earlier than a normal British GT race, catching their own GT4s. So suddenly, these 10 to 11 GT3 cars that we have remaining in the front of the field are going to have a huge amount of work to do. These are the British GT4 cars we're talking about. Revy Lake, youngest driver on the grid in the McLaren Artura, leading the way from another McLaren Artura of Josh Stanton, Tom Holland on the back of him. And there's Ian Logie. There's got to be a problem with that car. Ian Logie is much, much faster than that. He's unable to keep pace with the leading 3 in GT4.
And don't forget, it's the first time the car's run since the crash yesterday, so it makes one wonder whether all is well with that car. Ian Logie in the 2Cs run Mercedes that he shares with Aaron Walker. Meanwhile, Alex Martin charging along. We'll get in due course to a replay of the start, because it was quite dramatic, to say the very least. There is the gap between him and Simon Orange. The one that really did lose out there was Andrew Howard. I think he had to take slightly evasive action, didn't he, against Alex Martin's zealotry off the line, and that's cost him some time. So Andrew Howard now trying to rebuild his race, but Rob Collard, meanwhile, chasing after Mark Warren. This is the exit of the so-called Speaker's Corner. It's the one corner you could see from the old track commentary box here. Down towards Pouhon, and Collard going after Mark Warren.
this onboard shows you the visualization of closing speed. So we're in 4th place at the moment. We've created a big McLaren sandwich, haven't we? It's a Lambo leading, a Lambo here in 4th, McLaren in between us. There's a GT4 Audi we're past. So far, we haven't lost any time riding on board with Rob Collard. The GT4's being very respectful. That changes as you get up the competition level of the GT4 field, so expect to see more time lost. The most overused button today will be the flasher on the steering wheel. The headlights automatically flashing for the drivers. The most pointless and most vain button ever in a car, but it makes you feel better as a driver.
Rob Collard, then, you're riding with, always goes well around Spa, whether it's British GT or in the GT World Challenge Europe 24-hour races here. He's been a class winner. And look at the cars ahead of him, darting left and right around the Ginetta that doesn't know which way to go. Standing its ground, at least then. The quick cars can go round, and Collard breaks late against Mark Warren. They just about avoid contact into the chicane. This is for 2nd, 3rd and 4th in the race. It's Simon Orange, Mark Warren, Rob Collard, McLaren, Lamborghini across the line.
Oh, that was crazy, wasn't it? Left and right for that Ginetta. He didn't know where to go. It's when you're at the supermarket picking the fastest checkout, and doesn't matter which one you go to, it's the other queue that moves, and that's how it felt for those 2 McLarens trying to navigate their way through. Rob Collard did the right thing trying to get the move done. Warren had seen and gave him the space, but he couldn't get the move done. This is where you don't want to catch a car. Coming in Troy Rouge, and you're going to see the difference here. Warren in front of McLaren's going to escape as this Lambo of Rob Collard held up by the Alpine Cup, and now visualise the difference in the gap. We were only 2 lengths behind. You can barely see Mark Warren, and that is no fault of Rob Collard. That is multi-class racing at its finest, depending on which part the fence you're sat on.
Julien Paget was the one in the way, and there Mark Warren trying the outside line for 2nd place, coming up to Le Combe against Simon Orange. You've got to say this is a really tough stint for these drivers, because in the GT3 cars, these are the bronzes, the lower graded drivers. These are your AMs, if you want to be less polite about them, and they're having to race like this, nose to tail, and pick their way through the traffic. This is not easy at all. Simon Orange squeezes up on the inside line. Mark Warren tries to go around the outside of the Alpine. They've done it. They're doing a great job of getting through the traffic, and so is Alex Martin. He's the pioneer. Every car he comes across, there must be this slight hesitation. Have they seen me? The others behind try and just blast through the gap that he's created. And there's Collard coming back at them.
Drivers will be asking, how long have I got left on my stint? And the team will go, at least 49 minutes. And they're like, wow, I need to start breathing, because this is intense. It feels like a video game at the moment, the intensity and the pace difference in these cars. It's phenomenal to watch, and it is just high risk. The drivers need to do their risk-reward management here. I wouldn't want to be an insurance company right now. If I were a team, I'd have my oldest, strongest front bumper on and try and use it as a snowplow. It's going to get used at some point today as we get to the inside of that Supra. Look, the gap's gone back down again. The ebb, the flow. It looks like Simon Orange has lost a load of speed.
He has. He got boxed in behind a slower car. Wrong part of the racetrack at the wrong time. Here is Collard. Rob gets his nose chopped off. The GT4 car ahead is still slightly in the way. Simon Orange now goes round the outside, but Mark Warren given a free ride there. He had the gap. He's gone through. He's up into 2nd.
How the turntables turn. It was a lap ago here. Mark Warren lost all his momentum and nearly lost the place to Collard, and now he's in the lead of this 3-car battle, up to 2nd overall. It's been a phenomenally good start for Mark Warren. I thought it could be. He had great pace in his qualifying. He now needs to focus on the lead Lamborghini of Alex Martin, who at the moment is escaping up the road to 4.5 seconds in the lead.
Meanwhile, in the French battle, you're looking at the Alex Papadopoulos Mercedes coming down the hill, being chased by the Joshua Henry Toyota. They are nose to tail. Rudy Serval is still leading from Cindy Goudet. So this battle is on for 3rd and 4th. And then behind, Laurent Hergon and Pascal Houteau are former teammates, but they're squabbling over 5th place right now. As again, look, Joshua Henry comes up on the outside line to try to get past Papadopoulos. The American driver in the Mercedes 015 keeps 008 at bay, just as they thread their way out of Le Combe.
Yeah, similar cars with engines in the front, very similar liveries on the Supra and the Mercedes GT4. As you see the Alpines fighting in the background. Those Alpines we don't see too much of these days in European GT4. We've never had one in British, but the French one obviously attracting the home brand of Alpine. They seem to be very good around this Spa circuit. Just clearing up a few things with those cars with problems at the start. Tilbrook, it wasn't a puncher. Cold tyres, car felt odd, so he came in thinking it was a puncher, and then the number 3 overheated due to that delayed start on the grid. The alternator didn't charge enough on idle, so they had to then use that external battery pack to fire it up.
So Morgan Tilbrook now 24th. Mike Price is in 11th place, as Josh Henry then gets himself through squabbling with Laurent Hergon, but actually Henry was fighting with Papadopoulos, so he's now on this sort of rear guard action of keeping Hergon, Houteau and then Fabien Duffieux behind him. Morgan Tilbrook's now done the fastest lap of the race, and he must be clear of back markers because he's done a 2:21 and the leaders are doing 2:27s.
It's crazy, isn't it? And that time's gone forever. And that's how it feels as a driver. When you lose time for traffic, you go, oh, I'm going to make it back up. But of course, you're already driving as fast as you can, and that's the attitude that causes massive accidents.
Cameron Campbell's Ferrari we saw getting roughed up. He's had a pit stop, and also into the pits have come Dan Lavery and Jess Hawkins. Now, they were together in the order. I wonder whether those cars have made contact somewhere and precautionary pit stops. They've all rejoined, but they have pitted.
Yeah, strange, both Aston GT4s there, and they're running relatively strong in the GT4 field as well, especially in their Brahman car off in the barrier, Stevelo 2. That's going to be at least a full course yellow, if not safety car.
That is Sara Desh, the Polish lady that's gone off into the gravel. It's a big lose to be pointing in that direction. And let's see what comes of it. So the race looking as though it may well be neutralised here to get that out of the way.
Yeah, I don't think we need to worry about the flame out the exhaust. That's relatively normal on the turbo car. Here's Alex Martin trying to thread through that battle of GT4s we saw in the previous lap. And again, he's done the gap perfectly. He didn't attack the entry Trot Rouge, so now he's got the momentum all the way down the Kemmel Straight to clear that Mercedes GT4. The gap still growing to second place Mark Warren, another second found on that last lap. And this isn't about pure pace. It is all about what you can do with the traffic.
And I think the yellow flag there is being shown. We go full course yellow. So now the pace slows right down. Full course yellow is called to try to get Gashara Des car out of the way. Now this may go safety car, depending on how long it takes to remove that Alpine. Doesn't look badly damaged. Mind you, I said that about Ian Loggie's Mercedes.
Yeah, you've got good form there. The Manitou is coming. You can see the skid marks in the background. It's going to have jumped over the gravel trap. And they've just done a really poor job of getting the level right of that gravel trap to the tarmac. And it launches cars off. It's where we lost the Porsche GT3 earlier. There you go, car fully in the air.
Wow.
Big tan slapper, and then the tyre barrier finally stopping the car. And I think the damage on the left side that's not visible could be suspension damage. As it smashed the driver's window as well.
I think it may have
looks
done, yeah.
Rather ominous. And yeah, Gosha Rodessa used to coach her back in British Formula 4 with Douglas Motorsport. So yeah, really nice to see Gosha back out racing after becoming a mother.
The only downside being for Gosha Rodesh that the car is damaged and seemingly out of the race. So full course yellow, everybody has to slow down to the delta speed, no overtaking permitted. That is the race leading car. Just reflect on that start of Alex Martin. It was either really good or a bit anticipatory.
It looks super premeditated, didn't it? Which is always hard to do as a start because you plan out a few things what could happen, but it just felt like because Tilbrook wasn't there, you could see a huge gap and he wanted to be there. And he manifested it so well. It felt like he jumped when the lights went to green. We could see him hanging off that new bridge going across the straight on the way to Eau Rouge. And I feel it was all okay. He could have caused a massive crash because I think Andrew Howard had to check up, and Andrew Howard didn't necessarily have to check up, but this car swerved in front and took that space. And there's that car that doesn't look too badly damaged, David.
Yeah, well, it's drivable. That's not badly damaged in my book. Right, there's a bit hanging off it. That'll polish out. It's fine. See, far worse than that at the Northampton International Shaleway at Bangor World Series, for example. So the car's still mobile. What more do you want? Oh, it's coming back to the pits. They'll just put a bit of tape on it, rip off anything that's superfluous, and Gosha will be back out again. It's a bit low on one side, I'll grant you, but apart from that, it's not too badly damaged. Right, let's look at this start.
Yeah, it's already happened, doesn't it? We didn't see the momentum jump, but it was a great getaway, and Orange couldn't cut across the front of Martin in time. Collard getting good momentum, and that helped him fly through the order, and that's why he's up to fourth. Just trying to look, track limits, everyone was very good apart from Mark Smith. He'll get away with that one. And the GT4s were kind of running in order. They were all okay. You can see those two Astons running side by side there. They're the cars that boxed on the same lap. And this is the French GT start.
And Rudy Serval makes a demon getaway. But look at Hugo Popper with that yellow Supra. Two wheels on the grass, sort of elbowed his way up alongside the Alpine. That could have been even more dramatic. And then Papadopoulos had that real twitch as the tyre temperature just wasn't there for him. But he just about hung on ahead of the Irish driver, Joshua Henry, as they climb the hill. Fascinating to see the Supra and the Mercedes, two front-engine cars, lots of grunt and go. And the full course yellow has now morphed, incidentally, into a safety car period. So we've now gone to safety car procedure. And remember that at the restart of this, the GT3 cars will all form a queue at the front ahead of the GT4 traffic.
I'm excited to see how that goes. Trying to organise 55 racing drivers.
It's going to be good, isn't it, for Mike Price and Morgan Tilbrook, that, because it gets them through the GT4 traffic.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I'm trying to think anyone else that gets up there. Ian Loggy as well potentially will benefit. Luckily, the British GT4 cars hadn't been part of the lappery, so they won't get split. Some of the French GT cars, unfortunately, will. But yeah, the safety car of Build Your Dreams will be ruining the dreams of some of those French GTT cars.
So we have now completed just over 21 minutes as the cars go out of La Source. There you can see Rob Collard. When the race director is happy that the incidents are all sorted and he can initiate this class split, then we'll see the GT3 cars put themselves at the front of the field. So let's have another look at the start from Rob Collard's point of view next. Here you go, Joe.
So we're on the 5th row here. We have to leave that gap for Mike Price that should be there. Try and look as far as you can in the top right corner and you'll see Alex Martin dart to the left. He's leaving more gap than he should, Rob Collard, but that does give him a momentum. There we can see Stephen Lake in the McLaren. Look at the momentum. We're trying to fill that gap, but he had to lift out of it. And some big slowing down there from cars. Normally, Eau Rouge nearly flat in a GT3 car, but potentially with the tyre temps being a bit low because of the 2 formation laps, unable to. We're now heading down the Kemmel Straight, speed 230 Ks and rising. We're going to try and go to the inside of this Ferrari 296 of Cameron Campbell, and we'll be later on the brakes. And we're actually going to get Beechdean as well. That is phenomenal. And although an inferior championship, his British touring car history is coming in nicely.
It's a fight you want, is it? Let's have a look at Alex Martin's start. Look at that. And Andrew Howard did have to check up, didn't he? Most definitely.
Yeah, the lights went early, though, and it was almost like Martin was the only one ready for it. I think Orange was waiting, and then almost looked up and realised it was green. There's Rob Collard, the car we were just riding on board with. So he does a phenomenal job at the end of that straight to get it done. And yeah, at the moment, the safety car is actually, is that the French GT4 leader? It's picked up coincidentally.
I think it is, yeah. So Rob Collard, you were on board with for the first part of that first lap. He did say to me years ago in touring car racing about being able to overtake in unorthodox places. And he said so much of it came, as you see Gaucher Rodest's Alpine in the pits, from his oval racing days, where you'd be racing 2 or 3 times a week maybe on imperfect circuits with no practice. You'd drive to the grid. Sometimes there wouldn't even be a rolling lap. It'd be a clutch start. So you just had to deliver on cold tyres on a grotty surface that might just have had a banger race. You had to assess the grip and get on with it there and then. And Rob remains one of the great and brave overtakers.
Yeah, he really is. And here we go. We're on board with the 088. This is the French part of this race. So their start happening later. Good start from everyone around him, but then slowing up, and he has to send it down the inside. So this is coursing here. He's doing a mega job of picking the throttle up and getting that momentum, but again, having to slow down and then just trying to pick your way through. Huge snap of oversteer. As the tyres are out of their window, there's less temperature, but there's also less pressure in them. He's already having to lift here, just trying to spot where you're going. And when you're this close to the car in front, you can't see anything. If you've ever tried to tailgate someone on the motorway to get them to move over, that's what you're doing, but in a race environment. And now, again, the momentum is key at the start. You've got to fill the space. Wherever there's a space, place your car there, and that's how you make forward momentum as efficiently as possible. And you can see the cars running 2 by 2. Just a bit of housework on the French GT part of this race. I think all of the cars, apart from the top 3, are lapped. So I think we're only going to have the first 3 French GT4 cars on the same lap. This Alpine, this Supra, and the Mercedes is actually behind Martin up there on the track. The timing screen not picking up, so potentially only 2 cars on the lead lap for the FFSA GT4 race.
But the cars will all get together because the GT3s will go ahead of them on block. So all the French GT4 cars will form their queue.
Yes, it's whether they wave those GT4s around, because they haven't picked the leader of the race up. That safety car should be in front of Alex Martin.
It should.
So it's whether they wave those cars round or, like you're saying, filter back.
Yes, if the GT3 cars drive to the front of the queue.
Yes.
Rather than the GT4s drop behind. We'll wait and see. But I think it won't affect the French Championship too much because they're pretty much all self-contained there. You've got the French GT leader. I would imagine they'll get the GT3 cars to overtake rather than the others to filter back. However, we'll worry about that in a lap or so's time when race control is happy to get things moving once again. Safety car conditions here, 94.5 minutes on the clock. That means we've had just about 25.5 minutes of this 2-hour race at Spa, and it's one of those situations in race control where you scramble the full course yellow, that goes into a safety car. We're still under safety car conditions, but the car that's caused it all is already in its garage being worked on. So now it's the administration of all of this. Right, we've got the full course yellow, we've got the safety car underway. Now we need to think about the class split, and you have to do that at a part of the racetrack that it's safe for the cars to go through. There's no point doing it here coming into a corner because people want an apex and there isn't room. You need it on a long section, really, out of Blanchimont up towards the bus stop.
Exactly, and drivers will be wary moving offline as well to get rubbish on their tyres, and then they've got to clean them off, and that could even be what happened to Morgan Tilbrook in terms of 2 formation laps. Maybe it was pickup he felt that was a puncher, and surprised the team maybe didn't have telemetry to assure Morgan that the pressures looked okay and you could stay out no problem, because that's really hurt their race. This will help, of course, like we said, he'll get him back on the pack and he's going to have to push through. Remember that McLaren is going to have a longer pit stop of 20 seconds as well when Ben Barnacle jumps in.
Yeah, Tilbrook's 24th at the moment, and let's see where he's going to be come the resumption of the race as the field now cycles down through Pouhon. And there are the French GT cars, and they are lagging back from the safety car in preparation, I think, for the GT3 cars to be allowed past. Look, you can see Mark Warren is already moving towards one side of the road, so when the instruction comes from the team that we can do this class split of getting GT3 ahead of GT4, then he's put himself in the right place. And again, as instructed, the French GT cars will just reduce their pace a little to make this happen as quickly as is possible. There's no point in them going flat out because it'll take longer for the GT3 cars to overtake. So do back off. The GT3 field will pass and then we'll be good.
Yeah, so the GT4 should stay on the left side. There should be no weaving, and the GT3 should overtake on the right. And I think that's what Martin wants to do, but he's probably wary of getting swerved into at this point. So he's tentatively taking the race lead back. We'll now see Warren, we'll now see Orange, and then we should see Rob Collard in the background. There he is coming through. So far, this is working very nicely. It
is indeed. This is Rob Collard's view as he accelerates past the GT4 traffic. Keep left. Yep, they do. Good, he's through. Then you're going to have Andrew Howard. Then you're going to have Jonathan Beeson, Kevin Say. There is Cameron Campbell.
Can you see all the marbles they're picking up, though? That was what I was talking about. And it takes a lap or two to clear off. Can be 2 to 3 laps to go, and then 2 to 3 seconds a lap lost. So there's Tilbrook. That should be our last car to get this wave around that's not a wave around effectively done, to put him back up to 13th overall.
But Ian Loggy, Mike Price ahead. They also need to crack on here, don't they, and get past the GT4 traffic. Otherwise, we're going to have yet another lap to sort it all out. Here they come down towards the chicane, and there's going to be limited opportunities to overtake there because it's one of the narrower parts. But Ian Loggy will carry on passing the GT4 traffic the other side. British GT4, by the way, is being led by the McLarens, plural, of Revy Lake and then Josh Stanton. Tom Holland is next in the queue. And then after him, it's Luke Shaw and then Dan Lavery and Jessica Hawkins, despite being delayed early on. Right, there are the leading cars in GT3 out of the hairpin. Some of the French GT4 cars doing what they're told, which is to slow down, but almost getting in the way of the GT3 traffic. So you've got, yes, actually, because this is the first time this has been done and it's completely new for the French Championship, it is working fine, apart from that Alpine just ever so slightly getting in the way.
There's always one, isn't there?
But they've all slowed down. I mean, in fairness, the French Championship, who don't race against GT3 cars, they don't have a class split, they're doing something completely new on a shared grid. They have worked that very, very well. And there is our GT3 line, and it's almost complete, look, as Loggy, Price and Tilbrook arrive on the back of the queue up at Les Camps.
And annoyingly, you're right, the French GTs are all on the same lap now, and so the safety car picked up the French GT leader on purpose.
So through Les Camps they come. That's your British GT4 leader, Revy Lake, sharing with Blake Anglis. He is ahead of Josh Stanton, but there's a French GT4 car, look, the Audi, between them. So Revy Lake's got a bit of a buffer here. Safety car in this lap we have on our timing display. So the safety car will be in, and that means we're going to go back to racing this time people to watch. A certain R. Collard, and also Morgan Tilbrook is going to be lighting the blue touch paper, because this has really helped him getting him back up the order, not only in terms of catching the queue, but also now being in a good place to overtake on the resumption.
Yeah, it's given them a massive lifeline, hasn't it? It's actually going to give these cars quite a few uninterrupted laps as well, because everyone's going to be bunched up together. So what do I think they're going to have? Probably a minute 50 to the last GT4 car. So they could get four complete laps without traffic. So they will be enjoying that, unless there's another safety car.
Now, Revy Lake just going into the Les Combes sequence, and I thought we briefly lost Josh Stanton. Maybe I was blinking at the wrong time. This is number 21, Aston, out of the MK stable. That car having dropped a little bit back after its earlier stop. Jess Hawkins at the wheel, coming now down through Bruxelles, but still ahead of the BMW Brandon Templeton. So there, the British GT3 field turning through. Mark Smith, behind him, Stephen Lake, Cameron Campbell, the green McLaren, Mike Price, Morgan Tilbrook. Those are your French GT Championship cars. And this is Rob Collard getting ready for the restart.
Yeah, I was wondering if we would get safety car in this lap. I would say not. We're slight. We
have had that message. We have had that, yeah, and the lights are out. So the cars are making their way to Blanchimont. We're ready to go. So Alex Martin, having made a really demon getaway, has to do it again now.
Yeah, the only thing I was just thinking about is the GT4s are mixed, aren't they now, British and French?
Yes.
So that's the first time that's happened in this race. Similar pace cars, but in completely different races at the moment.
And the British are effectively lapping the French cars because they started further ahead. So if they're catching up to a French GT entrant, it is to put a lap on it. But don't think of that as a GT4 race in its entirety, because the regulation split with the pit stops is so different. They are two completely separate races. Right, Morgan Tilbrook you're riding with as he comes towards the chicane. And remember that the first corner, La Source, is going to be still under a yellow flag. So they'll go racing, they'll be back at competitive speed, but the overtaking will come out of the hairpin. So Alex Martin accelerates away, and the likes of Tilbrook need the car ahead to keep close to the pack ahead, because otherwise they're going to lose a chunk of time as Alex Martin can control everything from here on in. And that's the McLaren that has got a problem. Revy Lake, who was leading British GT4, has ground to a halt before the restart, and this could mean that we're about to get the safety car back out again.
Yeah, the only hope is it's a power cycle. You can see the lights come back on, so hopefully he can get that going, young Revy. Remember, that was the leader in British GT4. Tilbrook's had a big lift out the throttle there. He's behind the sister car of Mike Price. The 84 is rolling, so it was an off and on again. And look at the speed that Tilbrook's got. Which way is he going to go? Price moves left, gives him space. It's now Loggy in front, and this is the restart that Tilbrook needed.
Absolutely right. As there, look, you've got the battle between Simon Orange and Rob Collard. Kevin Say fighting with Mark Smith, but absolutely right. Morgan Tilbrook on a mission, gaining places. This is Collard having to go at Simon Orange for third as they come down towards Bruxelles. In the background, Andrew Howard in fifth place. Jonathan Beeson's BMW sixth. Kevin Say, number 18, is seventh. And there is Tilbrook. So he's got himself past Loggy, he's got himself past Price, and I think Mike's going to have a go at Ian Loggy very shortly as well. That Mercedes just does not seem to have any get up and go.
No, it doesn't look wrong either. So handling wise, I can't spot anything obvious. So it could be power, of course, saying under braking, but we're not used to seeing a Mercedes. We're not used to seeing a 2Cs. We're not used to seeing Ian Loggy going this slowly.
And Mike Price, having started from the pit lane, crawling all over him as the cars now come once again through Pont. But look at the amount of time that poor old Ian Loggy has hemorrhaged since Tilbrook got past. I know he's having to defend, but even so. So this now becomes the GT4 British leader, Josh Stanton, in the Optimum McLaren. Remember, he missed the last race at Alton Park after the car was very, very badly damaged in the first race in Cheshire, and he's under attack, look, from Tom Holland's Ginetta.
Yeah, now he's got to deal with the Alpine Cup cars in front of him. You can see Lavery in the background having a huge moment. That was proper full send from the full send racing car, but all okay at the moment for Stanton. But this next half of the lap is going to be important to clear these slower cars, 5 to 6 seconds a lap slower for these Alpine Cup cars.
So they thread their way through. Josh Stanton on the lights, his first year of British GT racing, first year of multi-class racing like this and sharing a car. He's come out of Carrera Cup GB, in which he was a class champion, And now, look, Tom Holland in that Ginetta is all over the back of him as they turn now into the Cours Paul Frère, heading on towards Blanchimont. But the British GT4 lead could change imminently. Tom Holland, winner at Silverstone in the 3-hour race in that green and black Ginetta, is certainly on a mission as they come now on towards Blanchimont, speed building all the time at that part of the racetrack.
Yeah, Stanton's got to be smart here. Adam Wilcox's driver coach will be on the radio. Just remind him, just use momentum. If you can't overtake in the corner, hang back and almost do a safety car restart out of the corner and kind of block off the attack from Holland behind in that Ginetta. And these Alpine Cup cars are awkward, aren't they? They're good on the brakes, they're very light, but they just don't have the power and the torque out of the corners, and that makes it difficult to overtake. And at the moment, these cars are hemorrhaging lap time, and Tom Holland will be ready to pounce if there's a single mistake from this yellow McLaren.
More news from Brian in the pits. It was a power cycle for the Reddy Lake McLaren, but the team unsure what's caused it or whether it's going to happen again. So a little bit concerning for them as there, look, Stanton puts the Alpine between himself and his GT4 rival Tom Holland. Alex Martin in the meantime leading by a second and a half as Josh Stanton breezes there past number 31 Alpine, which is the car of Julien Neveu. Sorts him out on the run down through the approach towards Eau Rouge. Tom Holland will now do likewise the other side on a climb up the hill.
Yeah, they've split slightly, haven't they? So it's gone in favour of the McLaren. McLaren's slightly faster top end than the Ginetta, so that will help clearing the traffic. But look at all the traffic he's going to have to clear. 5 or 6, now 5 cars still to go until there's any space for our GT4 race leader.
The number of track limit warnings is just getting silly at the minute. So many cars, so many drivers, many in the French Championship, incidentally, being now on their 4th warning for track limits. So it won't be long, I think, before we start to see penalties. Alton Park winner Dan Lavery going through there, number 27. This car, which is currently in 16th place overall, and that means 3rd in British GT4.
And leader in Pro-Am. But it's also under investigation for its safety car restart. Remember, this car's been in the pits as well, so they were super lucky not to go a lap down, and they've done very well. Jessica Hawkins just behind as well. I'm starting to think it was a timing glitch.
Yes, you've taken the words, because they haven't lost places from where they were, but and it wasn't a very long pit stop, surely, so I like they tripped the beam. Could they have run wide coming up Radion and gone over the pit out beam?
No, but I see what you're saying, but you're completely wrong, I think. But yeah. It's strange. Maybe if Bryn fancies doing some work today, he could go and investigate that.
Why they're being shown as having done a pit stop, because they were in nose to tail. The cars aren't damaged, so and they've retained track position. But yeah, as I say, unless somehow they managed to trigger the pit exit beam, I'm not entirely sure how that would have happened. There was a definite pit in and a definite pit out, so some sort of glitch. Jessica Hawkins, you've got to say, going really nicely, having come from almost the back of that GT4 grid. The progress she's made there, look, number 21 Aston Martin, has been very good indeed.
Really, really good. And Ginetta's battling here. Luke Shaw in Pro-Am, 2nd in class, fighting super hard with everyone around him, it seems. And yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a French Ginetta, he still has to clear it. He's actually now got that car in between him and James Townsend in that black and pink Aston Martin. Right,
the pit stop tally column of data now has a 0 for both Dan Lavery and also Jess Hawkins. So whatever the transponder glitch was that made the system think there was a pit stop, it hasn't been a pit stop, so apologies, we were slightly misleading you, but we were slightly misled as well. So they've remained on track throughout, and somewhere along the line the timing systems had a gremlin. In the French Championship, Rudy Serval still ahead, and Cindy Goudet is behind, so it's Alpine from Toyota as it was on the grid. Then you've got Alex Papadopoulos in the car that was 4th on the grid, and 3rd on the grid now, running in 4th place, is the Irish driver Josh Henry. There he is in that Supra that he shares with the quick French driver Leo Jusset. So the cars now down the hill again in towards Pont. Papadopoulos hanging on to that 3rd place, and they're using this, him and Luc Ibanez, his teammate, as effectively good testing for next week's European GT4 round.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect. Same tyre, same layout, but he's massively under pressure. I wonder if Josh Henry has to change his name to Josh Henry in the FFSA Championship. But he's going really well. He seems to have the faster car with him. That Supra is hustling on hard against the Mercedes AMG GT4.
But they're being caught by by Laurent Hergon's Alpine. That's Pascal Houteau's car. He's got Hugo Pop behind him, and then Kevin Jimenez, the former Clio star. But right now, Laurent Hergon's Alpine is getting a bit near nearer to the battle of the long-nosed cars, the Supra and the Mercedes AMG. Meanwhile, Simon Orange has done the fastest lap of the race now in the GT3 section, which of course will always have the outright fastest lap. Here in the French Championship, you're running up towards the fast left of Blanchimont, speed building all the time. This is Jeremy Coursin, the championship leader, put to the penultimate row of the grid after his lap times were disallowed for track limit offences. A bit like that.
Exactly, that is a great illustration of what's a track limit. Well, it's when all four wheels leave the track, and that's actually cost momentum, hasn't it? And it's lost the place for the Porsche. Now an Audi R8 trying to go around the outside, doing another track limits, as is the BMW having a huge slide. Yeah,
the Porsche there that got a little bit roughed up was Axel van Straten's car from the VS Competition team, but Jeremy Coursin building his race now, starting to make some progress, turning up through the hairpin, and Coursin now is in 34th place overall, which is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th in French GT. That's been a mega run.
Yeah, really strong, and it looks quite clean, the car as well, so it doesn't seem to have any damage on it. Talking of damage, GT3 leaders are going to start to catch traffic. They're actually going to catch Revy Lake this lap after he got held up with that problem, didn't he? And we've got, what, 21 minutes until the end of the bell will ring for this stint, for the opening of this race. Kind of slowed off a bit, didn't it, with the safety car, but I feel the last third of this opening stint is going to go up to the pace we saw in those opening laps.
Yeah, the good news is that, as you say, Revy Lake is still circulating. We did fear that the lake had run dry, but he is still going, still circulating, as now in GT3, Collard trying to stay on the back of Orange, who's lost out to Mark Warren, but I reckon Mark's getting a bit closer to Alex Martin. Last time around, Mark Warren was just 0.06 of a second quicker by way of the lap time, and that over 7 kilometres is nuts. Coming out of the chicane then now, they make that run up towards the timing line. Once again, Alex Martin, the race leader, Mark Warren behind him. The gap is 0.9 of a second, that's all.
Yeah, some fast laps coming in now. Rob Collard just did the fastest lap of the race last time by 20.8. We've also had a lead change, haven't we, in GT4?
Yeah.
Tom Holland has got past Josh Stanton, so was that traffic affected? And we actually can't even see Holland because the gap has grown so much. This yellow McLaren is now second place in British GT, and the car in front of this Alpine is the leader, Holland, flashing his lights.
Yeah, so he's being slightly impeded by traffic. Stanton needs to clear the Alpine, which he does. So Josh does have a chance here of getting back onto terms with the Ginetta, which is being held up, not deliberately, just the wrong part of the racetrack at the wrong time. And the McLaren hunting down the Ginetta, so you win some, you lose some in the traffic. Dan Lavery's white Aston is still there in third place in GT4. And then behind him, you've got Jess Hawkins and then Luke Shaw and James Townsend to round out the top 6. So Stanton now gets a clear run at the Ginetta. Tom Holland still has not been able to usurp that Toyota Supra, and he's getting very cross about it.
He really is. He's losing a lot of time. And also, you've got to remember that Holland's got 30 seconds more in the pit stop as well. So that gap needs to be over 30 seconds if he's going to keep the race lead.
Team manager of Dan Lavery's third place, Aston Martin in GT4, to the stewards immediately. A penalty is brewing, I fear, as there Tom Holland gets past the Supra. But look at the way the gap has been massively reduced now. Josh Stanton, though, is going to get past that Toyota. So Tom Holland comes over the line. And up front, it's Martin from Warren, Orange, Collard, then Howard and Beeson, your top 6. And now Josh Stanton is being given a rough ride because he hasn't been able to find a way past 87, which is Jerome Andre. And he goes crowding up towards the pit wall, and he still can't get through. And it looked as though people were slowing as they came down the hill. There's a yellow flag out, though, within the first sector.
Yeah, and we're looking at what the penalty could be for the 27, and it's the 60 BMW off in the gravel trap deep at La Source.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting place to end up.
That's on the Ardennes at the wheel, who's another GT4 European Series regular. The snatch vehicle is ready, and let's now see how the race director has to treat that. And it's not the only car off, look, because there is another one, and that is up at Les Combes, and that is one of the Audis. So this could be a longish interruption as a general clear-up. Which Audi have we lost? It's 27, and that means that the car of Sebastian Rambo is in the gravel. I'll let you do your own Rambo jokes. I won't presuppose to do any. So we've got yellow flags in sectors 1 and 2 now.
Yes, and I think the second one where the Audi is going to have to be a full course yellow. It's in a dangerous place, and it looks like cars are slowing down to full course yellow. We're getting it cooled very late compared to what we're used to, aren't we? And I think that's why you saw orange slow up later than everyone else. You're also going through one of the most infamous corners in world motorsport when you get shouted to slow down to 80 kilometers an hour. So easily done there. But yeah, apparently the 27 problem was they were overtaking French GT cars. Apparently they've been reported by another team on that one. So race control, we're going to investigate that. As soon as the safety car is out, there was no overtaking, of course. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to the 27 car of Lavery at the end of his stint.
So then we have Alex Martin still in the lead of the race. Let's have a look at what happened in British GT4. This was Josh Stanton in 59, the yellow McLaren. Tom Holland in the Ginetta, number 74, on the outside. And Tom Holland has the inside for the second part of the chicane. That is good racecraft.
Yeah, that is a slow-mo camera, by the way. That is slower than real life. It's not like when your boring uncle's telling you a story. You can see how hot it is. Stanton with his hand out the window, trying to get some cool air on his face, some debris offline there. Plenty of detritus. And yeah, look at the gap. It's really grown, isn't it? And if there isn't a safety car after this, which I think's close, isn't it? Because they could get these cars out quicker than the Alpine that caused the first one, and we could go straight back to green. Or do we feel the safety car is a better way of restarting 55 cars?
Well, the pit window is being delayed by 5 minutes because of this clear-up. We've done 46 minutes, and as far as the GT4 cars, in 12 minutes' time, we'd be looking at the pit window opening. That makes me feel that we are going to have a safety car.
Yes, I would agree. So is that the British GT window and the French? I don't remember a British GT window ever being delayed. I don't think the British one will be delayed.
It's French only, I think you're right. So
I hope the teams are on it, because you've seen that message come up on the timing screen.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting bit of dual regulation in one race, and it is going to get removed pretty quickly, that Audi, isn't it? And what are they going to do? Drag it back onto the track and let it go that way, or take it behind the barrier on the inside?
So there is Sebastian Rambo's Audi ready to be retrieved. And the car of Alex Martin continues to lead the race here at Spa, from Mark Warren behind him, Simon Orange third, and Rob Collard in fourth place. And then there's a bit of a gap back to Andrew Howard. Behind him there'll be Kevin Say, and we'll wait and see whether or not we need a class split this time. I think all the GT3 cars are still ahead of all the GT4 traffic, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it should only be Revy Lake that's in the middle of it, and he's lost a lap, hasn't he? So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do on that one.
So this is Collard's view as the field comes out of the Cours Paul Frere under still full course yellow conditions. You just a few moments ago had a look at the driver that will get into the lead car. Alex Martin's Lamborghini handing to Jared Waberski, the very quick South African, who has been doing great things in the SRO GT Academy as well this season. So his father, Garth, used to race in the UK in single-seater racing going back to the 1990s in Formula Renault and Formula 3, and Jared will take over number 78, the race leading car. Alex Martin doing a good job of keeping that up front. Teams also just double-checking. I noticed the delayed pit window message.
The French FFSA pit window is delayed by 5 minutes. A British GT pit window is on time. British pit window is on time. The French window is delayed.
So that's the voice of Peter Daly, the race director, telling the teams that if you're in the British Championship, your pit window remains as was. In other words, 58 to 70 minutes for GT4, 62 to 70 for
penalty,
GT3.
car 27. You have a 10-second time penalty for overtaking before the green flag at the safety car restart. 27, you have a 10-second time penalty.
And that's confirmation. The team was being summoned to the stewards, and for, as you've heard, overtaking before the green flag, then a 10-second penalty goes the way of number 27, and they'll serve that on the pit stop.
Yeah, exactly. At the start of the pit stop, they can't touch the car for 10 seconds. So that's another bit that's relatively easy to mess up, as it's a new regulation this weekend.
I mentioned Jared Oberski a moment or two ago. Let's hear from him. He's going to get into this car. Bryn Lucas has found him in pit lane.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. It's been an interesting one, a tricky one. Started P3, shot straight to the top of the pile there. Rob, by the way, in the other car is looking absolutely fantastic, but then all that good work gets undone with the safety car.
Yeah, Alex had a mega start. He just nailed it, jumped into P1, and he built almost a 6-second lead through the first round of traffic. Just got a bit unlucky then. We knew this was going to happen. Full course yellows and then safety cars. They breed safety cars, so it's going to be a race. It's going to be a long race. We're still early doors, but Alex has done a mega job, and I'm keen to get in.
Well, the safety car out there at the moment and bunching everything back up, we know there'll be a reorder again on track. But for you, it's to get your head down. You've got your mind as well on the academy, the SRO Academy competition going on.
Yeah, the SRO Academy has been going well so far, leading. Yeah, just keep chipping away at that as well. I think getting good results on track then corresponds to that as well. So keeping focus on the main thing and scoring good points for both.
Just a very quick one, by the way. You've had one session in the commentary booth with David Addison, and you're already nicking his lines. Is that fair?
Yeah, it was an amazing thing at Brands. I learned a lot. Pleasure to meet everyone, and yeah, they're doing a really good job on the commentary, and hopefully put on a good show.
Here with all the tough questions. Good luck.
Cheers, thank you.
Bryn, you can tell him there's a bill coming. No, he's nicked my safety cars, breed safety car lines. Thank you. Right, Jared Oberski then, who has been a big, big asset to GT3 racing in Europe, coming into GT World Challenge Europe last year. Very quick former single-seater racer, wasn't he? Followed in Dad's footsteps to begin with. He'll take over the lead car. Right, the BYD is at the head of the queue. We're not yet under safety car conditions, but you can tell we are ready to go. Might only be one lap to get everyone back up to speed, but we will at least go into the safety car in due course.
Exactly that, yeah, the light's not on, so everyone's still at 80 Ks because it's still full course yellow. There is the team's software that they're using to try and find out where the space is, when they can pit, what the sector times are, even the live telemetry there as well, so a huge amount of data there in the Barwell garage.
Right, let's have a look at what happened to Rambo. Sebastian Rambo out of the car almost out of the gravel. And that all looked rather self-induced, didn't it? A bit too much speed. Or was there a tyre issue? It's just as it spun, that right rear looked as though it might have been off the rim.
Yeah, it really flopped down, didn't it? And you would say with him walking away from the car, it's a terminal issue rather than get the car out the gravel and continue the race. So, yeah, I think once we watch it spin, you're right, it really sits down, doesn't it? It tripods now.
Bit of smoke.
It's losing the whole wheel, is it not? I think it's missing the whole rear right wheel.
Yeah.
I feel like I could see the hub instead of spokes. And yeah, let's see. But that was some pretty heavy artillery to fight with only 3 wheels. Oh, right, no, there is a wheel.
There's a wheel, but it's the tyres off the rim, so maybe that had gone pop and that caused the spin. Apologies to Sebastian, therefore. It was not self-induced. It was perhaps rubber-induced. Anyway, that car is being pulled from the gravel bed. We've got BMW 60 as well to retrieve, haven't we, on Ardennes' car that was over at La Source. We haven't worked out yet how he got there, but he was a long way off from memory. This is when the full course yellow was called, and Simon Orange, and to a lesser degree Mark Warren, just a little bit slower to respond than was Alex Martin.
Yeah, it could just be positioning of your eye line and what team is calling it over the radio. It will be called over the radio. It will be displayed on the in-car marshalling system. Rod Collard, again, trying to get some air in here. And the cockpit temperature is getting hot. And although you're going slower, physically you're not working as hard. The air is much more stagnant in the car and it gets very, very hot very quickly. So the driver's probably realising that there's a chance they'll get a 2-lap shootout at the end of this before they can pit. Going to have to be ready for a quick fight before they hand over to their co-drivers.
Yeah, the GT4 cars are looking at just over 4 more minutes before they pit, a little bit longer for GT3. British GT teams will be fully cognizant of the fact that all of these interruptions are for French cars, although we might have another drama for Evie Lake, and that's absolutely slap bang in the middle of the road, isn't it?
Trying to work out what the link is here. It goes full course yellow and it turns off. Is there some kind of problem where it's overheating because it's going slowly, or is it the button is sticking down? I'm trying to work out what's happening there, but yeah, there's something not right with that car. Every time we've gone full course yellow safety car, it's having to power cycle there, and he's back on the full course yellow, but that car's got a problem.
So the field up towards the line, and as they come past us once more to complete now the 17th lap of the race. Obviously no change within the order. It might start to shuffle, of course, once the pit stops start to cycle through. And this is Rob Collard's view as he heads up towards La Source. There's probably also a point now where race control / technical team say to the squad operating Revy Lakes McLaren, the Paddock Motorsport team, you need to be in the pit lane.
Yeah, exactly that. Paddock, I spoke to the team earlier. They've taken over that car from Mahiki, obviously, and they've put a huge amount of hours into the car to get it up to race prep. But there's obviously a few more things that the Paddock guys will want to do to that car, as they've now taken ownership of it for the rest of the year, as the Audi is now taken out of the way. Hopefully that truck, yeah, it looks like it's going to dive to the right and get out of our way. So we probably could go to safety car conditions in the next 30 seconds or so.
And of course, the teams will be speaking to the incoming driver as well and offering suggestions or advice, ready for the second stint as Jared Oberski gets ready.
The GT4 cars could be in the pits, couldn't they, in the next 2.5 minutes for British GT, so that could be something to keep an eye on. And I think where our race leader is, Tom Holland, in the middle of Pouan T11, he could probably, yeah, he's definitely going to be able to box this lap if we stay at 80 Ks, and even if we go to safety car, we could see a huge flood of cars coming in. There's another message on the timing screen, new delay of 5 minutes for the pit window. We'll have to see if that's for the French series of another 5, or that is now encompassing British GT.
I'm assuming it's only for French, as it was before, but it's a fairly dangerous assumption right now. Of course, you've got Gerald Derval, who is the regular French GT race director, working with British race director Peter Daly. Peter is sort of in overall charge of the race because he's got the cars at the very front, but Gerald looking after the French side of it, so he'll be on top of that rule book. And normally, there is, of course, the delay for French or GT4 European Series if we are under a safety car, and its rule set rather mirrors that. Well, Revy Lakes McLaren is now going to be taken off the circuit. Pit window is open, so that's going to be for the British Championship cars, but we've only had 56 minutes and 40 seconds of the race, and down the pit lane comes the leading French car. Plot thickens.
I fully understand.
Right. Well, the French cars are pouring in, but they were told that there was going to be a delay of 5 minutes, and the top 2 from the French Championship have made the call to come in, and they're not the only ones, look, coming down the pit lane. But we had a message that said new delay of 5 minutes for the pit window, and within a minute of that, pit window open.
Yeah, safety in numbers, they're all doing it, so we will assume this is the correct strategy for them. Very different fueling regulations for these cars, so it's going to be a much longer, slower process. Almost annoyingly for the British GT cars, this under green flag would be better because the cars are going to be missing, aren't they? But under a safety car, it doesn't really make a difference that they're off the track, and this chance of more free track time is kind of going to evaporate under the full Courchevel safety car conditions.
I still fear that this is an erroneous pit stop because it comes within a minute of a new delay of 5 minutes. So maybe these teams hadn't seen that before they call the cars in.
Is Holland going to box? He's right at the last corner now. He's 10 seconds too early. I think he's going to have to do another lap. But I reckon Optimum, if they roll the dice and are smart here, they could be the first stoppers in the second place 59 car. Let's keep an eye on that part of the pit stop battle.
Because they've also got to trickle along pit lane to get to the pit in line. There are the French cars coming in, and this is Optimum. This is Josh Stanton. He's timed this absolutely spot on.
Yeah, and the leader has had to stay out. So the full course yellow will remain in place until all the mandatory stops are done. So there won't be an advantage or a loss for any of these cars. But remember, Holland does have to serve 30 seconds more than the 59 Optimum car. So this car should inherit the lead as Revy Lake uses a novel way to get into pit lane.
Well, he's in quickly. Fair play to the intervention team because they've hauled that car back quicker than some are going. That's impressive stuff. And Revy Lake makes it into the pit lane. That's kind of with outside assistance. But anyway, I rather fear that car won't be rejoining. So the French cars pouring down the pit lane. I'm still puzzled as to why they're coming in with that 5 minute delay that was bolted on. However, they're coming in, and our concentration really is on the British Championship. So there is Revy Lake's car that's now been unhooked and has made it back to the pit lane.
Positive is they've just got 2 kilometres of free track time behind the pickup. £10 a kilometre running cost of that, Arthur. So 20 quid can go behind the bar for the boys to fix the car on their beers for that. And you can
plus fuel.
Exactly, exactly. British GT pit stop, drivers out, close the door, get behind the line, do the fueling, stop the fueling, driver change and tyres, then to finish off. The pit stop has a minimum time of 195 seconds, 3 minutes 15 seconds. That's from pit in to pit out. Teams will be in pit lane for 72 seconds, 994 metres of pit lane here at Spa when you combine both pit lanes.
So there, Joe Wheeler ready to get on board number 40 from James Townsend. And as Joe's rightly said, the full course yellow is going to remain until all the cars have cycled through these pit stops. And as far as GT3 is concerned, we've got another couple of minutes yet before it opens for them. So one more lap for GT3 and then they can pit and get the stops out of the way.
Yeah, I don't think any GT3 car is going to be able to box early. Our last car, Mike Price, is going to finish this lap before the 2 minutes. Here's the French way of refueling. Car pushed into the garage to do the refueling in what they consider to be a safer environment. There's always a strange argument here. Track days are the same. Some organisers, you can only refuel in pit lane. Some you have to go in the garage to refuel. And I kind of see it both ways. I guess in the garage, you're out of the way. But if you have a fire, you're going to take a whole building with you.
Porsche having new tyres there. The Ian Duggan car that he's giving over to Tom Bradshaw, last year's Porsche Sprint Challenge champion. Second generation racer is Tom. New tyres on that car. Josh Stanton has now given way to Mikey Porter in the yellow McLaren that just disappears out of shot underneath us. And that car now rejoins the race.
Yeah, Mikey Porter taking that car. Fastest lap out of anyone in British GT4 qualifying. Left it late, didn't he, with the track limit dilemmas he was creating for himself. Managed to get a lap in at the end where he kept it between the white lines fairly, judged by race control. And yeah, back in a McLaren in British GT, this time a GT4 car.
So these pit stops in GT4, 195 seconds line to line. This is the car that was leading in GT4, and this has an extra 35 seconds to serve on the pit stops. But that's going to hurt it, I think, especially coming in a lap after the opposition.
Yeah, it's going to drop them way, way down, isn't it? We don't have the gaps to where that 30 seconds is going to drop them because of the full course yellow and safety car, but my guess is it's going to drop probably to 7th or 8th in class. And this is the pit stop. This isn't normal. This is normal. This isn't a problem for the French GT cars. They're doing their tyres and fuel in situ, and they're given much more time as well to do this pit stop to add to the level of safety. They're checking the tyre wear. Maybe we'll just make sure everything's okay before that second set goes on.
That's the car of Stéphane Aurier-Combe, who caused a red flag in qualifying yesterday. Stéphane Lemeray will take it over.
I think from the livery on the car, it's going to need at least 2 cans of fuel to get to the end.
That was dreadful. We'll just put it on the bill. So the Alpine ready to go.
Hope his tyres haven't peaked.
It's Joe Osborne who died today. Meanwhile, Tom Holland brings the Ginetta to the pit lane, and the team will be fully aware that they've been jumped by many in the class. 35 seconds is a huge disadvantage given the 10 seconds of compensation for being in the top 3 at Hulton and 25 seconds for being a silver-silver driver combination. The car behind on the track, 27, Dan Lavery, he's also going to have an extra long pit stop now. They had 20 seconds for winning at Alton Park, but an extra 10 because of the penalty. So down towards pit in they will come. Let's see where that Ginetta is going to end up. At the other side of the pit stops, Hadley Simpson will get on board that car. And then you've got Darren Turner to take over that white Aston Martin behind. So into the chicane comes Tom Holland. He comes into the pit lane and charges his way towards the team, eager to get on with this. So he goes over the pit in line. I think Dan Lavery will come in behind him as well. It's almost a free pit stop while we've got the safety car out, but it just depends really whether pitting on this lap rather than the previous one is a help or a hindrance. You also notice there the Ardennes BMW out of the La Source gravel going into its box for the refuel.
Yeah, expect pit lane to get busy this lap. I expect all GT3 cars to box this lap and the pit window will open. You can see the other way of refueling these cars with the dump churns. Some cars use the fuel rig, so if you look to your left side of pit lane, you can see those big drums. They're 2 meters in the air, they're gravity fed, and they can dump 100 litres of fuel in around 25 seconds. The MK Aston in. So this is our presumed race leader because of the 30-second compensation time for the Ginetta. It led at the start of the race, lost the position, I think, because of traffic. Yeah. And I think Stanton's done a good job in that opening stint. Mikey Porter behind the wheel now, much more used to GT3 machinery, of course. We see him racing in GT World Challenge, also with Optimum, but in the 720 GT3 Evo.
new tyres to go on for Hadley Simpson for his stint in the erstwhile leading GT4 Ginetta. And that car will shortly be allowed into the race. There you've got the Porsche being refueled. Stand in the front of it. And fuel goes in, the extinguisher is there. Fuel being pumped out of the churn. So this is why you can see it's a long stop and the teams are afforded the time in order to do the work. Looks almost antiquated, doesn't it, in comparison with some. Right, this is your GT3 race coming into the pit lane, and you've got the leading 5 in a line there. Alex Martin, Mark Warren, Simon Orange, Rob Collard, Andrew Howard in one after the other.
Yeah, Barwell are going to have to service 2 cars, aren't they, out the top 4, so they'll park them in order. So Martin will go long in the box. He'll be turning in any second now. You can see his Lollipop Man waving in, and then the green suit, maybe Chris Whedon there, waving in Collard. So they'll service both those cars at the same time.
We understand the Revilake McLaren has a gearbox issue, missing even numbered gears, according to Revilake. That news comes from Bryn in the pit lane. So I think that's probably the last we've seen of that McLaren, because it's clearly not competitive if it tries to get back out again. Fuel goes into the Rob Collard, now Hugo Cook Lamborghini.
That is the difference. You can see Barwell servicing the first car of Alex Martin with the fuel rig and then fuel cans for Collard. Pros and cons to both. The fuel cans give you more flexibility, but are slower, more labour intensive. Fuel rig slightly slower, but easier and need less staff to operate. So this is our GT4 presumed leader. Look at the Ginetta leaving. So he's got to stick at 50 Ks. They're almost side by side, aren't they? But the McLaren here will be able to do 80 kilometres now, so 30 Ks for what I'd presume is about 600 metres of the pits. And my math isn't good enough to work that out, but I reckon that's going to be about 250 metres.
So there is then Mikey Porter, who comes out of La Source. If he is eager to look to one side, he'll see the Ginetta fall behind him. So that puts number 59 McLaren back into the lead of GT4 in British GT. So the time gained while the Ginetta was sitting in the pits for that longer period of time, and the gap's going to stretch a little bit while they're running at a different regulation speed on track and in pit lane. So this is all helping Mikey Porter, building that gap look over the Ginetta as it's about to accelerate out of the pit lane and head uphill. And you can see in the space of that one part of the racetrack alone just how much time that McLaren's gained.
Yeah, huge amount, and that'll be a really nice gap. Interestingly, though, the gap irrelevant, because it's going to go to safety car, and at the moment there are no cars in that gap. That could change with cars leaving pit lane, but this could come all the way down.
And this actually is helping this car. It's helping all of those that have got the compensation time. It's helping the likes of Morgan Tilbrook, for example, in GT3, because knowing there's a safety car coming and it's going to bunch them all up, it's good news.
Yeah, exactly that. So we'll have to see what order they leave in. The time penalty is always going to lose you positions, but yeah, it's losing you less track time, thus less distance on track.
Ross Gunn is the first beneficiary in GT3 because the 4 ahead are compensation time free. Ross Gunn, by dint of the results at Alton Park, has 15 seconds. So with a safety car brewing the other side, that's good news. And did I just see Blake Anglis in the Revilake McLaren back on track?
Yeah, so it's got no even gears, so that's a bit odd in itself. But I'm worried now that that car is going to be running pretty slowly and potentially still not very reliable.
Well, I'll offer you the same line that we had before the pit stop then. The technical team and race controller at some point going to say, you need this in because it's not safe.
Yeah, and, I've driven a lot in that car, and I haven't had that issue, which is what every manufacturer says when they get an issue, but I haven't had that one. I can't work out what the fix would be because it's a dual clutch. It's an automatic Graziano box, actually out the 570 rather than the Artura in that car, and normally a bulletproof thing, hence why they've used it over 2 GT4 models. But yeah, if you've lost a pack of the gearbox, I can't see how you can fix that in the pits.
Now, GT4 France is also still shuffling because we've got some in the pits and some, like this car, having made their pit stop. So remember, this car is the Leo Jusset now driven Alpine that was leading. They've had 2 wins already this year, Louis Jusset and Rudy Servold. And it looks as though the Alpine is going to put itself now back into the lead of the class as the stops all cycle through. When everybody is pitted and rejoined, then we're hearing that the race direction team will give us a safety car, maybe a lap, maybe 2. And I suppose partly they'd like one long crocodile. They also need to work out if they need a class split. But if they can get everybody in one line, for the GT3 cars, it will take, therefore, a bit longer for them to have to worry about Lapri, and that's all good.
Exactly. We think, and no, it will be good. But
safer, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But look at the amount of stones that were brought on by that BMW at La Source, which was part of the reason we're under this full course yellow. I still think we maybe could have got away with the BMW at turn 1, but the Audi off at turn 6 has caused this rather lengthy full course yellow into presumed safety car period.
So pretty much everybody now that's still running has done a regulation pit stop. So I don't think it's going to be long before Peter Daly gives the instruction for safety car conditions to be activated.
So the interesting one here is obviously the GT4 were all on the lead lap because their pit stop is longer than GT3. Has anyone been caught? Because that looks like our last British GT4 car, the 21 MK car, now with Autumn behind the wheel. So would you presume everyone behind him, which is everyone but the top 3, are a lap down, is my fear in British GT4 right now.
And have a look there. Hugo Cook, look, has got ahead of Jack Brown in number 90. Simon Orange, giving way to Marcus Clutton, has also got ahead. So the number 90 McLaren that was second is now in 4th place. We haven't got the pit stop times, I'm afraid, to hand, but it's clearly had a longer stop because it's dropped a couple of places. Rob Collard will be pretty pleased about this because they've gained ground on those pit stops. They're now up into 3rd place. Let's go and hear from Rob. Bryn Lucas has found him for us down in the pit lane.
If ever you needed an advert for Weetabix, Rob's your man. Rob, how many Weetabix did you have this morning? And you were on absolute fire when you left.
Yeah, I had a big job to do today. You know, I let the team down yesterday, let myself down, and it was just frustrating. The car's in a very good place. It's the Lamborghini around Spa is an awesome car to drive. So I was having a lot of fun. Just frustrating a little bit with this amount of traffic. It's not the norm. But they're the ones that are causing all the red, yellow flags and safety cars, which is not allowing us to race. I think if we could have continued and got into a rhythm, I could have maybe got one or two McLarens in front. We definitely had the pace to.
But you've jumped, I mean, the positives, you jumped 7 places there, and not unexpected, but you've jumped so many places. Your teammates now in control, and the clock is ticking. There's still a bit of a race on here. You could take the win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll be a big challenge to take a win from here. But if we can keep a podium, that's great. It's getting us back into the championship hunt, and yeah, let's bring it on for the rest of the season.
Well, go and rest and enjoy.
Thank you. A bit hot out there.
Rob Collard then is, of course, a double British GT champion. Came from oval racing. His father, the legendary Mick Duffy Collard, Hot Rod World Champion, and many other titles besides. So no surprise that Rob came from oval racing, initially to Formula Ford and then one mate Vauxhall Racing, then into the British Touring Car Championship, in which he was a mainstay, largely with BMWs for a long time, and then decided he'd come and race in British GT in 2020, won the championship, and then won it again a couple of years back with son Ricky, who is back on the British Touring Car Championship grid at the present time. There is then Hugo Cook coming out of La Source.
Yeah, Ricky, obviously the son of Rob Collard, and it's Father's Day in the UK, so British GT champions together. So this is our last place GT4 that hasn't been lapped, and now everyone has done their lap. It's actually not as bad as I thought. I think only 3 cars have lost the lead lap, which is the 97.
Car 78, please drop a little to let the safety car out.
Just go back to pit stops for a moment. I was saying that Jack Brown had lost a couple of places. Now, was it a slow stop?
Yep, second time you've been right today, David. He was 5.3 seconds over the minimum. Most cars kind of aiming to be a second over. That was the general gist of it. But optimum there, 5.3 seconds over the minimum time, and they had no compensation time. Kevin Say did have compensation time. They were okay, and so were Ross Gunn and Morgan Tilbrook Ben Barnacle.
There is the safety car that blends in ahead of Alex
Safety
Martin.
car procedure. Safety car lights on. All cars speed up and catch the safety car, please. All cars speed up.
And you've just seen, as the safety car joins the circuit, how far back some cars out of GT4 are. So look, this Ginetta is going to have to get a massive wriggle on now, and the car that's being really compromised behind is Will Orton's Aston Martin. Safety car will slow a little to try and give them a chance of catching up, but it can't go too slowly because the GT3 cars want to go quickly, because otherwise they overheat and the tyre temperatures drop and all of that. So it's a real balance now. It is really beholden on the drivers to press on.
Yeah, and we can see which cars need to come past, and the Century BMW is going to have to try and get some places. 2C's car, Ben Green now Plowman in that car behind, and so everyone GT3-wise is going to get up there, and the tail of the field now number 3 car with Callum McLeod, who's taken over from Mike Price.
Yeah, that car joining in after its slightly delayed start, but 59, Mikey Porter leading the British GT4 element of the race, now coming out of the Cours Paul Frere. So where do we stand in British GT4? Well, it's him ahead of Hadley Simpson, then Darren Turner in for Dan Lavery, and then Jack Mitchell in the Luke Shaw Ginetta behind. But again, if we're going safety car, then in theory, some of these gaps are going to disappear. Yeah,
it's just working out if there's any cars. There's no cars between these ones. Then Darren Turner in the white-green Aston Martin has got 2 in between himself and this Ginetta now of Hadley Simpson. And then we've got to look for Jack Mitchell in another Ginetta, the white and red one.
So before we get back to racing, let's just quickly go back to the pit lane. Bryn Lucas has found Tom Holland out of this Ginetta that did lead GT4 before the stops.
Well, they're very hench-looking, Thomas Holland as well, but that's because of the cooling vest underneath, I know. But your session there, you had a very tricky pit stop compensation time to serve, and you managed to serve it under a full course yellow, so things coming to you.
Yeah, it's quite lucky. Of course, I feel sorry for, there was 2 cars that went off, and now I feel sorry for as well for the 84 of Revy and Blake, who seem to have been plagued by a bit of a technical gremlin, which has caused these FCYs. But it's overall left us in a good position. It's meant the compensation time has been a lot less significant. Of course, we're still behind Porter in the McLaren, from what I remember checking, but we got a lot bigger of a gap behind us, and it's up to Hadley just to keep with the traffic. It's difficult to get past some of these lower class. I now know how the GT3s feel when we're back in the UK. But yeah, hopefully I've given him a little bit of an easier job, fingers crossed.
But with the championship in mind, very briefly on this, the championship in mind, you know, you are building an advantage in the championship, irrespective of where you are in the race.
Yeah, I try not to think about the championship because it just puts one more thing on my mind. I drive quickest when my brain is pretty much completely empty. But I just try to build out, do as good as I can each weekend, because at the end of the day, that's all I can be asked to do. And yeah, we're in a lucky position, of course. I do feel sorry for those guys, but as friends with them, I feel sorry. As a competitor, I'm delighted. So it's a bit of torn feelings, but I'm happy to be in the position we are so far.
So just to be clear, you said be asked to do. That's what you said. Thanks, Tom.
Yes. Sorry.
We'll leave Tom Holland and his diction to one side. The Ginetta then comes through, and you can see now the general mix in the train, British and French GT4 cars. We are going to have a class split. GT3 will put itself at the head of the queue. There aren't many, I think, that are merged with GT4. Where's our last GT3 car going to be? Callum McLeod's McLaren.
Green one.
Yeah, I think they're all good, aren't they? There are no GT4 cars in the way there, so class split GT3 only is confirmed, and hopefully at the end of this lap, if the back of the queue is not too far adrift of the traffic, we can go racing again.
Yeah, it's been just over 30 minutes of full course yellow safety car. Difficult one for race control, because if they had gone green when the track was clear, there would have been some big winners and losers with the pit stops, how they fell. So I get it for the viewers at home, this has felt long, but I think this is the right way of doing it and keeping it as fair for everyone as possible. And when we go back to green, we are going to have some clear laps for these GT3 pros now.
And also bear in mind that it's all very well saying we'll keep the caution period going to let all the mandatory stops cycle through, but some of those mandatory stops for the French teams are 8 minutes, so that might only be three laps around here, but even so, it is going to be a longer period to allow them that opportunity. But we are going to have the safety car in this lap. Now, as Jared Warberski might say, safety cars breed safety cars. So hopefully we are not going to have further interruptions. What we do want now is effectively what we've been building up to, a 13-way battle for the race lead. All the GT3 cars at the head of the queue, no traffic in the way, the star drivers in them. Now, who are we looking at? Ross Gunn is 5th, Martin Plowman is 8th, Ben Barnicoat is 11th. Barnicoat for the podium? Barnicoat for a win?
The former was going to be my shout, and annoyingly you said it, so I need to say something different. I think if Ben can get into the top 5, that would be a good go. 6 places here, but he was super fast in qualifying. Clutton, super aggressive.
Yeah.
I say it every time about him, and he hates it and loves it in equal measures, he tells me. But What's his move going to be on that Lamborghini in front of him of Jared Roberski? That car has led every single lap since Alex Martin took the lead on the start. Where's it going to be? Different drivers in there. Hugo Cook, we can't discount. Jack Brown getting used to GT3, is getting faster and faster. Ross Gunn, our first factory driver in the GT3 order. Charles Clark has been very quick this year. Ben Green, platinum rated off his success at the Nordschleife. Martin Plowman, that you've alluded to, so much experience. Josh Buchanan, very fast silver driver. Tom Wood, fastest lap of the race at Brands Hatch and Aston Martin last season. Ben Barnicoat, don't need to say anything about him. Aaron Walker has been super fast, and Callum McLeod at the rear is no slouch.
Aaron Walker has been a class winner here in the 24 hours in seasons past, so he's got good Spa experience as we are set then to get the race back underway. Safety car in this lap. We're going to have 37 minutes, 38 minutes of the race, but even so, it's looking forward to being a good battle. The French Championship still being led by the number 4 Alpine of Leo Jousset from...
Safety car lights are off. No overtaking until you pass the green at T1 exit.
Just to remind everybody that although the race will be back on coming out of the chicane, you can't overtake until you've gone round La Source. Otherwise, you've got another pinch point at that hairpin. So, Jared Roberski starts to slow the pack now. Once the lights are off, he's entitled so to do. It'll be up to him as to when to pull the pin, if you like, when to accelerate away. He can go early, he can go late, and what is going to happen behind. Effectively, Marcus Clutton has got to absolutely shadow what Roberski does. He's got to go on in the same split second so he doesn't lose time.
But you can't overtake at turn 1.
No,
I'm not as a race driver, and when I saw that as a regulation, I was thinking, how would I cheat that? And the only thing I can think of is to go deep in turn 1 and effectively get a cut back to try and get the momentum into Eau Rouge. Let's see if anyone else has a devious mind like myself.
Green flag is ready. We are going to go back racing then. Safety car is in, and Jared Roberski has not yet accelerated away. That point Joe makes about not being able to overtake at turn 1 on a restart lap is why I say you've got to stay nice and close to the car ahead so you don't lose time. But Jared Roberski has made the jump on Clutton. Look as they come across the line, and now then as we go down towards La Source, he's already a second ahead. So Marcus Clutton did not stay with him, and Jared Roberski has the advantage. You're on board here with Ben Barnicoat as they get up towards the hairpin at La Source, the other side of which you can overtake, and who's going to be the first mover as they plunge downhill.
Ross Gunn went for the cutback but slightly mistimed the momentum. Remember, he was the fastest man of all qualifying yesterday in the Aston Martin, not the 007, just a singular 7. They've lost their James Bond status this weekend.
They've still got a licence to thrill, mind you, because Ross Gunn is on the money trying to have a go at the Jack Brown-driven McLaren. There you've got Martin Plowman in the pink and grey McLaren just up the road. As to Les Combes they come. Ross Gunn trying to make some progress to the inside line there, keeping Charles Clark at bay. Ben Green is in number 18 Mercedes behind. Then it's Plowman. But all the time, Jared Roberski is trying to rebuild that advantage then as they come out of Les Combes down towards Bruxelles. This is the view from on board with Ben Barnicoat. Tom Wood at the wheel ahead. He's replaced Stephen Lake. Ben to the outside line. This is going to be brave if it works for Ben Barnicoat, and he has made it work. No, he hasn't. There's contact. Tom Wood up on the inside. So now Ben Barnicoat has another go into the Jackie Hicks corner, Speaker's corner, and he's made that work. And Tom Wood gets run out a little bit wide over the curb and over the gravel. Got schooled there.
Great racing, wasn't it? I was with you. I thought he'd done the move, and then suddenly, because there was less than the width of a McLaren 720S Evo, suddenly Tom Wood appeared, and he pushed Ben wide. Ben kept his foot pinned and had the inside line, and Wood had to yield there in the now run JMH car. And this has been a fantastic restart for the Lamborghini. Clutton gaining slightly now, bringing Cook with him. Jack Brown unable to stay with the top 3 at the moment.
And look at the way that Ben Barnicoat is going. He's on the back of Josh Buchan, the Australian driver, touring car champion in TCR in Australia, winner of the coveted gear race at Macau last year. And Josh, having been racing at Queensland a week ago, now to Europe. And here comes Ben Barnicoat. Look at the grunt that McLaren's got. He's on the outside line coming out of Court Paul Frere. That's the inside on the run to Blanchimont. That's another place gain. He's up to 9th already, is Ben. Meanwhile, up towards the chicane there, Ross Gunn in the white and blue Aston Martin, crawling all over the back of the Jack Brown Aston Martin. They're about to come out of the chicane, and the Tom Holland Hadley Simpson Ginetta is under investigation for a possible refueling infringement, and so also is the Ian Logie, Aaron Walker Mercedes.
Tom Wood getting the move done on the Ferrari into the bus stop chicane. Now they're side by side into Lesour's hairpin. Looks like the 69 car is going to stay ahead of the 13. Callum McLeod is the next car to try and get past that 296 run by Roden.
Right, Jared Weberski has just done the fastest lap of the race then at 2:20.2, and he leads by 1.4 seconds from Marcus Klassen. It's Hugo Cook there third, and look at the way that Hugo is going. The man from Northwich, not far from Alton Park Circuit, closing up onto the back of Marcus Klassen as they head towards Lecombe.
Yeah, looks like the Lamborghini has switched its tyres on the quickest out of everybody, and is that car of Hugo Cook going to be able to get past Marcus Clutton as the battle has swapped all the way around, and now Tom Wood has been filtered to last in GT3 side by side with McLeod. This could get messy.
So Tom Wood's got the inside for the last part of Lecombe and is going to stay ahead, at least for now. Callum McLeod, former Formula 4 champion, desperately keen to make up ground. And again, just look behind, that number 15 Mercedes, now Aaron Walker at the wheel, that's falling away just like it did in the hands of Ian Logie earlier on. So clearly that is a car that is not a happy car. Dirt kicked up from Ben Barnicoat, who runs wide. The pit stop penalty is coming for the Guerin family, Ginetta, for being too short on the pit stop from the French Championship. And the French part of the race is now being led by 78, which is the Joran Leneutre at Cindy Goudet Supra. So that has got ahead, I think, now of 004, the Alpine that's dropped to third place, Leo Jusset.
Yeah, this car now in fourth place in British GT. Jack Mitchell there third, Darren Turner just in front, and it looks like the Ginetta could lose another place to Jack Collins behind in the Century BMW.
Yeah, I'm not totally aware if there's a technical problem for that car, but you're right, it doesn't seem to have the pace, and there right behind is Jack Collins then. So we're looking here at the battle to be fourth in British GT4, and Hadley Simpson is going to have to work really hard. Jack Collins tucked up behind him as they drop into Poole. Meanwhile, Weberski, the race leader, Marcus Clatton's taken 4/10 out of him in the middle sector of this lap. So we've certainly still got a race on our hands for another just under 34 minutes here at Spa. This 2-hour race, and because of the length of it, it's one of the better point scoring rounds. So for the championship, you want to do well here. The 2 and the 3-hour race at Silverstone, they have the extra cachet of points. So it's a good back rate if you do well.
Yeah, you can see it looks like Ginnetta's getting held up more in the traffic, unable to use the power to get past. Barnicoat trying to get past Plowman. Two McLaren's different teams. It's Paddock versus Optimum, and it's hard here in the dirty air. Ben's going to have a lift as he's lost front aero through here. Let's listen. It's the smallest breath out the throttle, probably going to 85%, but look at the advantage that gives Plowman. So yes, we're in the slipstream, but the momentum has been lost. Where can Ben overtake this other McLaren? Remember, he did Tom Wood round the outside of Brussels, then the inside into 9. Could it be a similar story this lap?
Let's see. Hard on the brakes. Oh no, another one for the French Championship is in the gravel, and that, I'm afraid to say, is Romeo Lure, number 8, who has gone off the road in the car that he's taken over from Josh Henry. And that's Blanchimont, yeah.
Yellow again, called late, and interesting place to go off there. He's either had a failure or assistance there, and you can see the car's now on the limiter down to 80 Ks. Let's hope we can get this car on the way and just go straight back to green flag late racing. We've got just over 25% of this race remaining.
Yeah, because that has been, I'm afraid, yet another frustration. It's attacking the quick drivers here that want the time to make progress, and the race officials will be looking at this.
This will be a long full course yellow.
And there's your answer. It's going to be a long full course yellow, and then probably a safety car lap to get people underway. What you won't need to do, though, is a class split. We haven't had enough racing for the GT3, GT4 fields to mix.
Yeah. Often could you say that the Brits abroad are being the well-behaved ones?
It's not often, is it? So, I'm afraid to say, our third neutralisation of the race, and the Toyota then in the gravel bed. Romeo Lure's putting it there, and there's the recovery vehicle to get that out of the way. That was the car that was third on the grid in the French Championship, and as if you remember early on, running in that battle with Alex Papadopoulos, who's given the car over to Luc Ibanieff, who is currently second in French GT4. So first of all, you've got to get to the car, get it out of the gravel, and then get it on that flatbed. So the team working as quickly as.
See the pickup there of a good life lesson. Keep the strap tight. It's an interesting thing when you're a young driver to learn about getting towed. It's so easy to let that strap go loose. It gets caught under your own wheel, and then it's rather embarrassing. But see the driver climbing out there, maybe just asking what the marshals want from him, as this BYD showing off the range capability of their new electric 4x4, able to be out there for 3 safety car periods and have its safety car lights on without any dramas.
So the field will continue with the gaps for now, but if we do go safety car, which we expect, it'll bunch up. The marshals trying to work out how quickly they can get this car out of the way and then make the plan. Meanwhile, we have a number of drivers still coming under investigation for track limit offences. That's gone a long, long way off into the gravel, though, hasn't it? Doesn't look damaged from this side. No,
like I said, it's an odd place to go off. The only car I've ever seen crash there, Tim Mullen in the Spa 24 hour. I can't remember what year I was racing, 2015 or 16. It was in was it a 615? I only knew it was a McLaren because I could see the carbon tub when I came past him. It was a large accident, that one. And yeah, there's good runoff, but it's a straight entry. So a rear right puncher or some kind of contact. We're going to get a replay. We've got to look to the top part of our picture just to see what happens. You're going to see him just flying in there. Any of these cars in shot got any damage is what we're trying to spot. They all look okay. So you can see the car kicking up the dust in the distance already, and hard to call from there, but it's just not a place you go off as a driver. So I'm going to give it to a failure or some assistance, but can't really see any damage on the car that it would have been assistance.
Well, they're trying to drag it towards the flatbed. What you don't want to do is drag so vigorously that it damages the car.
Ross Gunn going so slowly?
Ross Gunn is going slowly, you're right.
That's slower than 80. No, what are we? I don't see any safety car boards. Has he got a problem?
Doesn't look like it.
Scraping the barrel to see why Gunn's got a problem here.
Down to La Source they turn. Everybody else bunched up behind, but he's dropped about...
I'm amazed no one's overtaken him.
Well, yeah, but it's virtually at walking pace. I think you're right. He has got a problem. Oh, no, he hasn't. Now he accelerates. What's going on?
Nonsense. If I was a racing driver out there, I would have lunged him at least 200 metres back. No one overtook. It was bizarre. As a racing driver, you're looking for any excuse to overtake him.
More bizarre is why he slowed to a standstill virtually, and he's got away. And now the car slows again. Does he have an issue, or is this trying to get warm through the tyres by slowing and then surging away again?
It's got to be at 80 k's. You're not allowed to manipulate the speed like that. So get Bryn with his running shoes on to go down to Beechdean and see what the problem potentially was.
But equally, you would imagine race control will want to look at that, because that is not obeying full course yellow procedure, is it?
I can't see any obvious damage on the car, no punctures. Sometimes cars go slower and closer to the pit wall to allow the team to eyeball the car for an issue, but I didn't see anyone hanging over the pit wall trying to see what the issue was. But to me, that car was doing 40, 50k and then almost to a stop. And Jack Brown, I have to say, fair play for the Sportsman Award there, because staying behind has saved this car from potentially getting shuffled all the way to the back.
So Ross Gunn coming up to the end of the first sector, and we'll see how slowly he was going, because that slow pit straight will be reflected in the sector 1 time that the other cars ahead of him have been doing in about 1 minute and 40 seconds. And we'll see where his sector time is in relation to that. The recovery operation continues.
Safety car procedure. Safety car procedure. All cars speed up and catch the safety car.
Right, and hopefully it won't be a terribly long one. So that sector of Ross Gunn's was about 20, 21 seconds slower than everybody else's. So clearly he was hemorrhaging time for whatever reason.
Yeah, the car looks okay, and he'll get away with it now because they will close up, won't they?
Unless there is a problem and it manifests itself. It wasn't as straightforward as stopping for a Beechdean ice cream, because he didn't come into the pit lane and nobody can reach anywhere to the car. We didn't see any flashing lights suggesting there was a problem, so a bit of head scratching there, but I thought the whole purpose was you had to stay at that delta speed or as close to it. Right, there's your British GT4 leader, Mikey Porter, and he's got a French GT4 entry and then Darren Turner.
We're under safety car procedure. Car 7, please accelerate. Car 9-7, please accelerate.
So 7 is Ross Gunn being told to speed up. There he is. 9.7 is Ronan Pearson, another former touring car racer, race winner indeed, and he's replaced John Hartshorn aboard 97. So the BYD.
Safety car is coming in this lap. Safety car is coming in this lap.
The BYD safety car, as you've heard, will be in this time, and that's going to give us about 25 minutes of the race. Safety car's gone storming away. Jared Waberski hanging on to the advantage, so it's a real frustration that we've had all of these interruptions. It's part of the danger, I guess, of having not only so many cars on track, but also in different speeds. But as they come up through Blanchimont, field coming up through Blanchimont. And we understand that the reason Ross Gunn was going so slowly was that when the full course yellow was called, number 90 McLaren overtook, and what Ross was doing was trying to slow down to give the place back, but Jack Brown was not in a mood to do that. So we'll wait and see what the officials decide to do, if anything, post-race. But it wasn't a problem with the car, it was more the drivers trying to sort out the order amongst themselves. So this is Hugo Cook's view. 25 minutes of the race to go. Where did Ben Barnicoat get to? He got up to 9th from 11th, so he gained a couple of spots, as we had seen. And remember, again, you can't overtake until you're the other side of La Source. It's going to be just less than 25 minutes as they come now slowly to the chicane. Waberski, Clutton, Cook, Gunn, Brown, Clark. That's the order.
This is super smart by our lead car, Waberski. He knows that the Clutton behind has a turbo McLaren, and he's going so slow, it's going to be very laggy on acceleration, where his naturally aspirated V10 is going to sing, and he looks like he's dropped the hammer, and he's going to get a pretty good gap, I think, to that 67.
Through the chicane they come then, so Barwell first and third here, Waberski and Cook sandwiching Marcus Clutton. We are back racing, but we're not yet back overtaking. That only happens the other side of the source as there Ross Gunn gets the tar temps and pressures back up in the white and blue Aston Martin. Coming into La Source already, you can see Hugo Cook lining up to have a go at Marcus Clutton, so that's doubly good for Barwell. It means that Clutton's not been able to stay with Waberski, and he's under attack from the other car. We're now in a position where overtaking can come as they head down towards Eau Rouge. Then up Rowdy on the other side. 24 minutes are on the clock. It is the Waberski and Alex Martin Lamborghini that leads the way, and Ben Barnicoat now going to have another go at Martin Plowman. Here they come, heading up the hill. So the incident between Gunn and Brown is going to be looked at after the race. The story hasn't ended on track, that's for sure. This is Ben Barnicoat getting a tow. Martin Plowman's going to try to defend. Ben Barnicoat goes to the outside at the last possible moment, breaks as late as he dares. There you've got Brown and also Charles Clark. Charles Clark skips off the road, and the McLarens are still at it. Ben Barnicoat to the inside, gets the job done, coming out of Lecon.
Great job. He's had to do a double switch back there to get the move done. I don't think Clark should be able to keep that position. Brown has lost another place now to Ben Green, and now we're seeing the 13 car get lent on by Plowman, trying to not lose another place. That's given Tom Wood a chance to get down the inside of the Ferrari.
There's an incident in the pit lane being looked at as well between the Ben Green number 18 Mercedes and the Charles Clark 44 bright blue BMW. There is Josh Buchan's Ferrari number 13 coming under attack now from Tom Wood number 69 McLaren. And behind the pair, Callum McLeod in the green McLaren. Now Jack Brown under attack from Ben Barnicoat, who's set to try to gain another place here.
Both optimum cars. The third optimum car, Callum McLeod, trying to get past Tom Wood. The pit lane investigation was the 44 going too slowly, accused by the 2Cs car. They're next to each other on track. There's a maximum speed of 50 and a minimum of 40. You've got to stay in that window.
This is Ben Barnicoat's view. Jack Brown ahead. Then Ben Barnicoat, winner last time out at Alton Park. The live speed building to 200 kilometres an hour and growing all the way up towards Blanchimont. 230, yes. 240, nearly. 236, 243. Yep, it's cleared that. What about 250 before the chicane? Let's go back to GT4 because Jack Mitchell in number 42, Ginetta, is on the back here of Darren Turner. This is for second in GT4, and it's for the Pro-Am lead in GT4.
Yeah, they're staying with the leader as well, aren't they? Which is still Mikey Porter in the yellow Optimum McLaren. So this is a very intense battle for a podium in GT4. But like you said, David, this is the Pro-Am lead between the white Aston Martin and the red and black Ginetta.
As up front, Mikey Porter continues to try to build the lead in the French Championship. It remains the number 78 entry of Jean Lenertre ahead, the Toyota Supra. There, Darren Turner has been reeled in, hasn't he, by Jack Mitchell over the last lap or so. The Grange-backed Aston Martin heading up towards the timing line. And if they squabble, that's just going to help Mikey Porter a little bit to build the lead. There he is in that yellow McLaren, number 59. That's the British GT4 Championship class leading car. Coming up to La Source with just over 21 minutes on the clock. Waberski leading Clutton then by 11/10 of a second. Hugo Cook is third, Ross Gunn fourth. Then it's Ben Green and Charles Clark to round out your top 6 overall.
Yeah, GT4, 3 different manufacturers, 3 different British manufacturers inside the top 3, which is an interesting one. Brown looking to fight back against Clark there. I'm still not sure that Clark will get away with that overtake a lap ago at Lacuma. I think he just went too much off the track. And this 13 car has really come alive on this second restart. Josh Buchanan going well.
Yeah, bearing in mind that had a bit of damage sustained early on in the race. You're right, it has come good. They go downhill now, looking to see the gap that Ben Barnicoat has to make up next. It's going to be against Ben Green, isn't it? So the Alton Park winning McLaren still charging its way up the order as they come down through Pont. Meanwhile, Callum McLeod sitting on the back there of Tom Wood. That's for 11th and 12th in GT3. Has Jack Brown got a problem? He runs wide, admittedly, and they all come streaming past him. He has got a problem.
We didn't see how Barnicoat got past, didn't we? So was there contact between the 2 Optimum cars? Looking level at the moment, can't see an obvious problem for that car. Will they continue? I would say not.
It's just lost pace, completely coming off Port, hasn't it? So whether it's got a gear issue or a transmission issue, it's still going, but at hobbled pace. 20 minutes on the clock, and as the race leaders then make the run again towards the end of the lap, Jared Waberski clear in the lead.
Slightly low on the front left would be my guess. It just looks like the splitter is lower on the, as we look at it, the right side, but driver's left.
Meanwhile, there's Waberski, and then you've got Clutton, Cook and Gunn all in a line. Gunn with his sights on a 3rd place now at the expense of Hugo Cook. Jared Waberski comes over the line. Clutton's blue McLaren is next. Ben Barnicoat, look, he's getting closer to Ben Green. So Barnicoat into the top 6. He's just done the absolute best final sector, and he's 6/10 of a second back. And Jack Brown heading for the pit lane.
Yeah, see what the Optimum guys do. Are they going to jump in on it and see where they go? It's going to be interesting to see where the damage comes through. They're going into a rouge. This is Ben
Car
Barnicoat.
1-3 is being shown a black and white flag. Please respect track limits. Car 1-3.
So it goes through a rouge. You can see it bottoms out. A lot of cars struggle through a rouge. The compression is so severe. The power steering locks out. I wonder if that's just on its top. It's a electric power steering, so if it gets too hot, then it can cut out earlier. But I would say it's not that, because the car's got going. I didn't see if they changed the tyre, but the car was all by itself. But it looked like the Eau Rouge corner was the manifestation of the problem.
Well, that's going to drop Jack Brown, Mark Warren to the back of the
team manager
GT3 class.
Team manager car 15 to the stewards immediately, please.
And 15 is Aaron Walker and Ian Loggie's Mercedes. So is that for track limit offences? Is it something else? There's the tyre that's presumably come off the Jack Brown car. So maybe he felt he got a puncture. Looked unpunctured, but certainly he felt that he had an issue and decided to take it easy in pit. Anyway, sadly, that car drops way down the order. Jared Waberski, fastest lap of the race last time, a 2 minutes 18.8 to build a gap of 1.8 seconds as Jack Mitchell here tries to clear the French
Car
GT
13,
traffic.
your final track limit warning before a penalty. Car 13, final track limit warning.
And that's Josh Buchan's Ferrari. We said it would come alive. Maybe it's too alive, if you see what I mean, because it's now exceeding track limits more than is permitted.
Yeah, it's easy to find a lot of time around here at Spa by cutting the top of Eau Rouge, easily half a second, if not more. Same time gain through Blanchimont. If you let the car run wide, you can even use the entry more. Look at Mikey Porter stuck in a hard place. Darren Turner's closing in quickly because of the traffic holding him up.
And there, 78 goes through. That's Jean Lenertre, who is the leader of the French GT part of the race. The opposition to him is Luc Ibanez's Mercedes, which is there, the grey and red car. So there's some British traffic in between. And then right on the back of Ibanez is number 4, the car that started on pole position, now with Leo Jousset at the wheel. Now, Ibanez is in the invitation class, not really a threat for points, but the Alpine still wants to clear him if at all possible.
Yeah, it's hard to know where to look, isn't it? The mix of GT4 from France and the UK, British GT. It's been a good mix of battles. We saw a real mix in quali, didn't we? Quali 1 dominated by the French cars and Q2 by the British. So this is their final chance for honours.
And a change here. Colin Turkington and Ronan Pearson, two ex-touring car racers, side by side, leaning on each other. Colin Turkington goes through. This is for position as well. Ronan Pearson forced out wide, comes back at Colin Turkington as they come across the line. Turkington defends from Luc Ibanez. British GT car defending from French. Ibanez now makes another move up the inside, bit of trim hanging off the BMW. Colin Turkington went well at Alton Park. There was an incident he was involved in with the Tom Bradshaw Porsche, but then the BMW was excluded from the second race. It didn't have enough fuel left at the end for the fuel sample. So Colin Turkington here getting stuck in again. Ronan Pearson, he used to race against in the British Touring Car Championship, the WSR run BMW. First time Dick Bennett's team has been here since 1987 and British Formula 3.
Yeah, this is going to get Luke juicy real fast, isn't it? Because these cars in the French part are battling for second and third in their battle, and these guys are battling, they're well out the order, but they still want the positions over each other in the Pro-Am part of British GT4.
Yeah, nose to tail here. Luc Ibanez with the Alpine then of Leo Jusset right up behind him as they come out of Les Combes. That is a seriously quick Alpine as well. And while they're squabbling, they're also being delayed against the French GT leader. But down to Bruxelles they come. Colin Turkington's BMW doesn't want to let them through because he'll lose time against Ronan Pearson here. But equally, he's losing time by defending from Luc Ibanez as they plunge down the hill once again. 15 minutes of the race to go here at Spa. Ibanez is on the lights. This is where the teams will be on the radio to say that's not really your battle. They come into the long left of Pouhon. And while all that is going on, the Mikey Porter McLaren has dropped way back in the queue, look, because Darren Turner now leads GT4. Jack Mitchell is up to second, and Mikey Porter has hemorrhaged time somewhere and places.
Amazing from Darren Turner here, obviously getting on in his years, but the positive of that, the experience, he's got a big puff of smoke there. Porter's trying to send it around the outside of Mitchell. What a move, and I think he's going to get it done.
Inside line for the next right-hander, and Mikey Porter does go back through. That was brave, because it's a slippery part of the circuit. That a lot of dust gets dragged onto the line. So Mikey Porter back up to second in GT4, but how he lost the places in the first instance is the next mystery to try to solve. But you can tell Mikey is all fired up, and he's going after the Aston.
Yeah, he lost a lot of time, didn't he? So, like you said, he's going to be fired up to regain that lead.
But bear in mind, that Aston Martin technically has no business leading. It had a 20-second extra compensation time to serve in the pits and 10 extra for a restart infringement. So they've made up half a minute as Ben Barnicoat dive bombs Ben Green, and through he goes. Lovely, brave move that by Ben Barnicoat. Ben Green comes back at him, but Ben B will have the inside line for the next corner, and Ben G is going to have to sit behind him.
Yeah, great move, Ben Green trying to close the door, and Barnicoat was like, I'll just keep going if you don't mind. I've had a monster crash on a mountain bike and nearly died last year, so a little move like that doesn't put any fear into me at all, as I'm fearful of watching this through a rouge.
This is for second in the French race, is Leo Jusset right on the back of Luc Ibanez. Turkington in the BMW not racing against them for position. More Alpine scatter, and the Pearson-Turkington battle is under investigation for overtaking off the road. However, right now, Colin's got bigger problems with Luc Ibanez going right around the outside, coming up to Les Combes. We've got Supras going side by side as well. Who, what, and how come out the other side? We'll find out in a few moments. There is the British battle. Darren Turner just ahead of Mikey Porter, who has regrouped after his problem, and he's right there on the back of the Aston.
Yeah, Jack Mitchell won't let him go either. It seems like the Porsche Cayman is holding all three up. Turner should be able to get to the inside now, although it looks like the Cayman's defending from him. We're not doing much for our Anglo-Frank relationships here, and this is going to get tight. Mitchell's going to try and follow all through. Darren running slightly wide in the white Aston.
But even if he does go wide, Mikey Porter needs the inside line for here, the left-hander at Speaker's Corner, and a drama for one of the two Toyotas, and there's another one on the grass in avoidance there. They're going to get going, yeah, so the road is cleared. This is Darren Turner under attack. Right there behind him is Mikey Porter. This for the lead of the GT4 class in British GT. They are absolutely nose to tail. Look, as they come back into view. Jack Mitchell has been rather delayed this time by that Cayman, and that's defending from him, so he's getting ever so cross is Jack Mitchell, understandably, because that car has no business fighting against him. Nico Ferreira getting in the way. Jack Mitchell has to devise his own lines, and he's done it. He's cleared the Porsche.
this is organised chaos right now, isn't it? It's trying to pick it out, and the drivers have to use their brains when to overtake, when to defend, who to defend from, who to overtake. It's like trying to find your car keys at a multi-storey car park after your holiday, and the valet company have just dumped them on the floor. You've got to drive away with whatever you're given.
So up towards Blanchimont comes the battle for honours in French, and then behind it, battle for honours in British. Darren Turner just ahead. 12 minutes and counting as they come out of the left of Blanchimont towards the chicane, and Mikey Porter is almost close enough to have a go, but he needs to be reading the traffic, doesn't he, to see where there might be an opportunity, and Darren Turner can't get up the inside there. That puts Mikey Porter right on the back of Darren Turner. Turner in that white Aston Martin number 27, 59. The yellow McLaren is Porter, 42. The orange Ginetta is Jack Mitchell. That's your top three in GT4 Britain.
If I was a British GT4 team, I'd have my team manager working the pit lane with the French teams, working out who I need to ask to let through, because it's just too chaotic for the teams to know who to let by. And Full Send Racing team boss Elliot Cole's a large man, so he could scare these French cars into submission, potential multi-series race.
So here you've got the 59 McLaren. Darren Turner skips over the curb, so also does Mikey Porter. You do what the car ahead of you does. And now look, Darren Turner again has to get through the traffic up towards Lecon. There is a gap on the inside, and the Aston a little bit more grunt in a straight line. Mikey Porter trying to stay with him, and Darren Turner into Lecon just clears the Porsche.
Super smart from Turner for me there. He's used up a track limit life to get past this Porsche that is now holding up Porter, and I think that is a very smart move, and that might be the move that wins the race for Full Send Racing, Darren Turner and Lavery.
And Turner now looking for more traffic to be cleared going through Bruxelles. Mikey Porter can't afford to let two cars get between himself and Darren Turner, so he needs to tell that car just up the road ahead of him to get out of the way. The next of those Porsche Caymans, Remy van Straten's car you're looking at the back of, he needs that to move. Down to Speaker's Corner they will come, and then on towards Pouan. This is Pouan through that long, fast left. Turner is still stuck. Here comes Porter to try to get up the inside, but the Porsche doesn't really know what it's racing.
This McLaren's got no straight line performance. Look at the gap that Porsche is pulling away, and that's what's hurting Porter, is that he just doesn't have the speed to stay on the bumper. And even that Porsche running wide, this is going to be a move that he tried on Jack Mitchell, wasn't it, a few laps back, and it's going to work. Mitchell's going to try and follow him through, but I don't think he can.
And look at that, ahead of Darren Turner, the Alpine he's trying to lap was all sideways over the curb, and that's the last thing you want when you're trying to win your class, somebody getting it wrong in front of you. So the battle is on for the GT4 lead. Still, Turner being caught by Porter, taking Mitchell with him. And then fourth behind them is Jack Collins' BMW that started at the back of that GT4 grid. And we understand it was purely traffic that cost Mikey Porter the lead of the class. You can understand why he's so riled about it and why he's fighting back so vigorously.
And now we're getting GT3s coming through. Jack Brown, after that puncture he sustained, is going to be in the mix here. Can he help his sister car, the Optimum car, the car he has done so well in the past in British GT4? And at the moment, Turner just seems to have that breathing space, more efficient through the traffic than this McLaren. This is going to give Mitchell a chance to send it to the inside. Could be three wide into turn one here.
Down they come then, heading into the tight right, which is La Source, and it's Jack Mitchell that's dealt the bad hand in the traffic this time around. So first and second go through. Here is Jack Brown in the big yellow McLaren getting squeezed towards the wall, and there was contact either with car or wall because something flew from the car, and that Alpine, rather, I'm afraid, unaware of what was catching and how quickly.
Yeah, Jack Mitchell saw that, backed out of it, now gets past the Alpine. It's going to be three wide. Is Jack Brown going to keep his foot buried? Jack Mitchell, I think, has seen him, he has. He's going to give him the space. The GT4 cars, the top three, have just spaced out ever so slightly.
In fairness, the British GT4 teams are used to, and the drivers are used to, GT3 cars lapping. It's completely new for the French Championship guys, who are GT4, and in the case of the Alpine Cup and the Ginetta Cup, GT4 minors. So give them some credit. They're trying to do their best, but it's all new, having these quick cars around them.
Yeah, Jack Brown, I won't agree with that statement.
No, sure, but
slightly rolled up. It is a valid point that you make. And so now that's going to be a lunge, and that was a low chance move. So let's see what happens there. As we go back to our overall leaders in GT3, it is still the Barwell Lambo of Jared Roberski, number 78, with a big gap over Clutton.
Indeed so, and Clutton keeping Cook at bay. There is Ross Gunn, who is being caught by that car of Ben Barnicoat, now fifth. Ben's just done the absolute best sector one. Ben Green is sixth, Charles Clark is seventh. That's eighth, Tom Wood, ninth, Josh Buchan, 10th, Callum McLeod, 11th, Martin Plowman, he's dropped back, and 12th is Aaron Walker, whose team, remember, have been summoned to the stewards. That's 78 Jean Leneutre, who leads the French Championship, having taken over from Cindy Goudet. Look at the gap. Luc Ibanez in second place. He's miles up the road, partly because Ibanez was delayed, wasn't he, getting past the Turkington-Pearson battle.
Exactly that, yeah, valid point. So we've got 7 minutes remaining, haven't we? I'm just working out if the GT3s are going to catch these GT4s coming into the final sequence. The last sector here taking 35 seconds.
Car 13, you have a 5-second time penalty for track limits. Car 1313, 5-second penalty.
And that's the Josh Buchan Ferrari. So we'd heard he was on his last warning, now penalty.
I think the GT3s are going to overtake all of these GT4s before the end. They're going to squeeze another 3 laps out of this, and they're gaining 20 seconds a lap, and they're only 40 seconds behind, so this could get very spicy towards the end.
This is for second, though, in the French GT4 race. Leo Jusset then on the back now of Luc Ibanez. He's on the grass as well. He's alongside the Mercedes, and this is Jusset's best chance. He's ahead at the bottom of the hill. He's on the outside line, and he's done it. He's way off the racetrack. So's the Mercedes, but the Alpine is through.
Yeah, the Alpine had the momentum. It's just, it's frustrating to see. I get it, we've made Arouge much safer, but there's just so much runoff now. There's such little jeopardy. And actually, Turkington is on the front foot here. I think the Alpine will get away with that one and keep the position.
We'll wait and see. But they were both off the road, weren't they? And the Alpine's all sideways there, having got it crossed up at Le Camp. But Leo Jusset then powers on. That's the confirmation on the graphic of the penalty for Josh Buchan's road in Ferrari. So Leo Jusset then finally gets past Luc Ibanez and has now got to start thinking about the gap up the road to the next car. We'll see what that gap is next time around. As downhill comes Leo Jusset. Behind him is Luc Ibanez, who is also being warned about track limits. 5 minutes to go. Jared Werberski getting quicker and quicker and quicker. This has been a mighty stint by Jared. Fastest lap of the race, and he's keeping some big names at bay.
Yep, just on the fastest sector one this time by, so the car's getting quicker as the fuel burns off. They'll have a lot of fuel in them as well, because we're under safety car for so long. Normally teams will want to finish with around 10 kilos. I think they're probably going to still have 35 to 40. As you can see, Ben Barnicoat all over the back of 4th place. Ross Gunn, you thought a podium was on the cards. He needs to get this move done quickly if there's a podium beckoning for this Optimum McLaren of Ben Barnicoat.
And if they squabble, they're going to drop back from Hugo Cook, who is in 3rd place. So Ben Barnicoat, after a tough day, remember an extra pit stop that car had to make, but he is still pounding along, chasing after Ross Gunn, the car that led the championship, the Aston, coming into this race. And there's a drama ahead, is there? There's a BMW that got all crossed up there that they are about to descend upon. The car is the Honda Airdown one that was in the gravel earlier on. They both got past. That could have been a scare.
There's the flavour, though. Our leader, race leader, is just overtaken the first couple of GT4s. He'll get a clear end of this lap, but the next lap is going to be chaos. There's
car 97 has a 5-second time penalty for track limits. Car 97.
Ronan Pearson's Aston Martin, you were saying.
So the next lap is going to be chaotic. They've been doing 2-minute 20s, the GT3s, in clear air. I think the next lap for Werberski could be a 24 or 25. Let's keep an eye on the traffic that will affect these cars.
And look at the way they've now caught Hugo Cook. This is 3rd, 4th, 5th, absolutely together, with Porsches from French and British ahead. Tom Bradshaw's car is in the old works colour scheme, that one. So they go either side of the 2 Caymans, or Cayman, heading up towards La Source. Cook tries to get away. Barnicoat needs the undercut, but there's contact against the Aston Martin as they go for the same piece of real estate. And Ross Gunn 4th fends off Ben Barnicoat. 3 minutes to go. There's this lap and one more.
Yeah, proper racing from both these drivers, both with hypercar experience. The Valkyrie for Ross Gunn. Ben has been driving the Toyota hypercar as well, so these GT3 cars, for them, will ironically feel a bit slower, so that's why they're so confident to lean on each other. We're going to get one more lap after this one, so the drivers will know this. The chances are getting less and less to get the move done.
Ben Barnicoat trying to stay with the Aston Martin Vantage as they get up towards Le Camp, and yet more drama. We've lost another of the Ginettas, I'm afraid to say. 013 is the Victor Guerin-driven car. He's clobbered the barrier, as you can see.
It's on the inside of Stavolo 2 by the looks of it. Stavolo 1, isn't it? So yeah, for me, that's safe. Let's keep it green.
So that can be probably handled just under a yellow flag, and even if he hooks reverse, he can get it into that little access lane. So that's the most recent incident in a drama-filled race. 2 minutes are on the clock, and the car sits forlornly as now past goes Jack Brown. Right, here's your third, fourth, fifth battle, and that in GT4, number 74 is Hadley Simpson, and this car now is in 6th place.
Yeah, the only thing with that Ginetta, because it's up against the wall, the driver can't get out the driver's door, so it's going to have to climb out because it's a left-hand drive car, so that might be the only awkward bit there. Ben Barnicoat navigating the traffic, but has actually lost out, hasn't he, slightly more than Ross Gunn and Cook in the Lambo in front.
Let's see as the race leaders work their way up towards Blanchimont, and here is the 004 Alpine, which has now taken the lead of GT4 ahead of Joran Lenertre. So you've now got the Alpine ahead, and
we have a yellow flag at T14. Please respect. It will be in place until after the race.
Now, 78 was told to give a place back to 004. That has now happened. So 004, there it is, or 004, leads French GT. And look at 15 Mercedes in 3rd place. But Leo Roussel then now in the Alpine that was started by Rudy Serval from pole position, back into the lead of French GT4.
Yeah, and last lap for Verbowski was a 22, so I overestimated that 24 a little bit, but still 2 seconds lost, and he's still got a huge amount of traffic to deal with.
Now there, look, something has happened. Barnicoat's jumped Gunn, that's what's happened. So we've had that change and an incident between Ben Barnicoat's car and the Ben Green car will be investigated after the race. Turkington has slowed right down, coming past the endurance pits on this last lap of the race. They were out of fuel at Alton Park. There's a problem here as well. Meanwhile, Barnicoat's going for the podium here, and he's about to jump past Hugo Cook. That is brave. He's almost on the grass on the outside. That's Cook's view. Wow. You always get breathtaking racing going up Radion, the Camel Straight, and there's more of it. Ben Barnicoat not only is up to 30, might yet get second. He's on the back of Marcus Clutton. This is insane.
Yeah, Mark Lemmer won't be happy with Cook there. Didn't close the door quick enough, and then Barnicoat just kept it pinned on the grass. 240 kilometres an hour down Turner there, still leading the GT4 battle, but this is going to get affected by the GT3s coming through. We've got GT4 and 3 leaders on the same bit of track.
Barnicoat and Gunn investigated after the race, causing a collision. We saw them rub up at turn 1. Have they done something else? That just looked like hard racing. But Ben Barnicoat's uncompromising push here is in jeopardy of perhaps upsetting the race result. However, there, look, Clutton and Barnicoat nose to tail for 2nd place. The McLaren sweep through the traffic. You've got the race leader up with the GT4 leader. So you've got Jared Weberski about to put a lap on Darren Turner. That was Clutton going wide out of Pouin, diving past Mikey Porter, going into pit. Barnicoat knows he's running out of time, running out of corners. There's nowhere Mikey Porter could go. There's smoke up the road ahead as somebody has run wide. We're into a yellow flag zone because of the Ginetta, and the Alpine is in exactly the wrong part of the racetrack at the wrong time. Green lights further up the road. Now Barnicoat can push again, but that's given Clutton the get out of jail free card.
Did Clutton overtake that Alpine under yellow? It would have been close. I think that will get looked at. Here's our GT4 leader, Darren Turner, and this is our last lap. 1 more corner to go.
And there you can see Ross Gunn having a go also at Hugo Cook. But out of all of the drama of the 2 hours around Spa, Jarro Roberski is going to bring it home after that demon start by Alex Martin. He's got the chicane to go. 78 Aston Martin means we're going to have a 4th different winner out of our 4 British GT races this year. Jarro Roberski and Alex Martin accelerate up towards the timing line. The clock has hit 0. The flag is out. Alex Martin and Jarro Roberski win for Barwell Motorsport here at Spa. 2nd across the line was Marcus Clutton. 3rd, Ben Barnicoat. Hugo Cook was 4th. Ross Gunn was 5th. Ben Green was 6th. I have absolutely no guarantees that's the order, given the number of investigations that have been coming up on the message line and the timing screen. That's Callum McLeod scything through the traffic at the very end of the green McLaren. British GT4, Darren Turner winning it from Mikey Porter, Jack Mitchell 3rd, Jack Collins 4th, Will Alton 5th, Hadley Simpson 6th, and the Barnicoat and Gunn noted action, it now says, against that bit of contact. Now, French GT4, the Leo Gisset Alpine clear of Joran Lenertre to bring it home. So, and that's Luc Ibanez going rally crossing in the background. So he wasn't quite close enough to make a move, and Ibanez has just cost himself any chance by running too deep into the corner. But it looks like we are going to get the Alpine victorious. What a race, eh?
those last laps. It was a 2:26 for Roberski, 6 seconds off the pace with all that traffic, and that's where Barnicoat benefited. He was 2 seconds quicker than anyone. Barwell celebrating their 30th win in British GT in a Lamborghini, one of the top teams, and they've worked hard today.
And a very happy Mark Lemmer, the team principal. Barwell we used to see as well in GT World Challenge Europe. Barnicoat and Gunn, no further action, so nothing's being done about that. Corrected message, and Mark Lemmer thanking and congratulating all of his guys. They are a really top team, and we look forward to seeing them back in World Challenge in the future. Now, Leo Jusset is heading for a British... no, he's not. He's heading for a French win, and a third of the season it will be. They came into this race third in the championship, so this is good news for points. Jean Lenut bringing the Toyota home for second place, but having battled through into the lead, the Alpine has made short work of the opposition, and having talked about earlier on in the weekend the fact that maybe this car wasn't quite as quick in GT4 Europe as once it was. Well, it certainly proved its pace in the French Championship this weekend, and a great effort by Rudy Serval and Leo Jusset. Win number 3 of the season beckons. Go right, go left through the chicane, checkered flag at the ready, and it's going to be an Alpine win for the 3rd time this year in the French GT Championship. Toyota 2nd, Mercedes 3rd, as Jean Lenut and Luc Ibanez come home 2nd and 3rd and 4th. It's going to go to that green Supra in the background of Thomas Drouet. And there is the winning car. Jared Waberski, fastest lap of the race, and for my money, a really good stint, because he had to deal with some really pro drivers behind him. Not saying Jared's not a pro, but some big names, and also all of those restarts, and he controlled it perfectly. Yeah,
and he is silver graded, so they've won silver am and the overall. So yeah, he drove phenomenally well, didn't put a foot wrong, and great pace. And it was a lights to flag lead, wasn't it? It didn't feel that simple watching it for the 78, but great start from Alex Martin. Good pit stop from Barwell, as always, and then a flawless stint from Jared Roberski.
And on the run up towards the line, Darren Turner has fallen back behind Mikey Porter, Jack Mitchell, Jack Collins, Will Orton, so 5th in the class.
That must be a penalty that's been applied, because on track he was in front for sure.
Now, did they not serve that 10-second penalty in the pits? We will try and unravel that. I can't see any extra penalty that was given to 27. So the provisional result is a win for Alex Martin and Jared Waberski from Simon Orange and Marcus Clatten, with Morgan Tilbrook and Ben Barnicoat in 3rd. Rob Collard and Hugo Cook 4th, ahead of Andrew Howard and Ross Gunn. Kevin Say and Ben Green 6th, and Jonathan Beeson and Charles Clark. And then Stephen Lake and Tom Wood coming home in 8th place. 9th went the way of Callum McLeod and Mike Price from the pit lane, and Martin Plowman and Mark Smith in 10th place. Now, even that result on screen is different from what we have on our timing pages, because there was a penalty to apply to the Ferrari post-race, so number 13 has dropped back in the queue, so that's... and Darren Turner being shown as 14th across the line, and that car got a penalty as well, so the graphic, I'm afraid, is not reflecting the final classification. So Jared Waberski and Alex Martin are victorious, and the winning margin of 2.1 seconds doesn't really reflect the full drama of that. But Jared thinking, where's my team? Where's my team? They're on the way, Jared, I promise you. But another good advert for the SRO GT Academy, because he's been doing great stuff in that. I'd like some water, he says to Lauren Granville, the championship manager. That's the least of his problems, is it, after that race? Just give me a drink, will you?
Please.
Yeah, there you go.
Done with a smile as well from Lauren Granville, doing a mega job running this championship. It is a huge undertaking to get all these teams across the water from the UK in different regulations as well.
And everybody, in fairness, has had to do a good job this weekend, adapting to different championships being on track and different regulations and different timing services and all of that. Well, Jared Waberski is a race winner, and Bryn Lucas is with him.
Yeah, I am indeed. He's just celebrating within the team. I'm sure you can understand why. Jared, let's quickly grab you. We always get drivers and they dive away. Let's just grab Jared. Jared, let me just grab you unceremoniously here. A great performance from you, Jared. This means a lot. I know how hard it was for you out there. It was really, really tricky conditions, especially in the heat as well.
Yeah, it was a really tricky stint, but to be honest, the car was mega. From the start, managing the safety cars, just drove away. Honestly, the car was so good, managing the tyres the whole way. So I lost my voice screaming already, but it was all thanks to the team, thanks to Alex, And what a place to do it on Father's Day as well to my dad. This is his present. And to all the sponsors that came here and watched. It's mega to have them here and to get the first British GT win with them.
Go and celebrate. Well done.
Thank you.
The GT4 saga continues because whatever dropped Darren Turner down the order has disappeared. So Darren Turner was the winner with Dan Levery 2 in a row in GT4. If there had been a penalty in the system or the transponder had a glitch, well, that's all been rectified, and so Darren Turner and Dan Levery do take the win. So, Leo Josset and Rudy Serval are your winners of the French GT4 Championship from Jean Lenert and Cindy Goudet. Luc Ibanez and Alex Papadopoulos third from Thomas Drouet and Jerome Andre. Harry Reynolds and Reece Lloyd fifth, and then Jeremy Coursin coming home for sixth, along with the co-driver Lionel Papin. Let's reflect on a very busy 2 hours at Spa that began with an absolutely lightning start by Alex Martin, charging through the gap that was allowed for him by Morgan Tilbrook being in the pit lane. But having got the lead, it was not one that Alex Martin was in any mood to lose, as he stormed clear in the opening stint that was interrupted a couple of times with French GT4 cars in the gravel. Rob Collard was making progress early doors as well in French GT. Rudy Serval took an early lead as Hugo Popper's yellow Toyota took to the grass. Good battle for third, involving the Alex Papadopoulos Mercedes and Irish driver Josh Henry's Toyota. On track, eventually the French cars were caught by the British GT3 brigade, and the lap restarted, giving one or two heart-in-mouth moments. And our first interruption came when Gauchier Rodest went off spectacularly in the Alpine, and that car triggered a full-course yellow and a safety car. Back racing, and more drama wasn't far away as another couple of French GT4 entrants found different gravel traps, and also we had the Revy Blake Anglis McLaren grinding to a halt on the circuit and needing to be towed back. Pit window open, drivers doing the obligatory change, the cars being refueled as well, and a great battle on the other side of all the safety car dramas. Ben Barnicoat from 11th getting himself up to third in a mega drive at the end. The last interruption was when that Toyota, the car of Josh Henry, not with him at the wheel of it, but his co-driver putting it into the gravel. That meant that Romeo Lurs was out of the race, and everyone bunched up once again. Darren Turner put himself into the lead of GT4. Jack Mitchell also jumped ahead of Mikey Porter, who went round the outside coming out of pit path and retook the pace. Ben Barnicoat got past Ross Gunn and was right on the tail of Hugo Cook as they came out of the chicane. And while all that was going on, it was still Jared Weberski holding sway up front. Marcus Clatten good for second as Barnicoat made the move to get third place. 2 wheels on the grass going uphill. But Alex Martin and Jared Weberski, race winners in British GT here at Spa. A great drive to round out a drama-filled race. And the teams will reconvene in mid-July at Snetterton.